Chapter 587. Zhao Fu did not know about the various kingdoms, and looking at the 4 treasure chests in his hands, he smiled. These were region treasure chests, and the things that could be opened were not simple at all. The Truth Tree and Seraph Heart were both from here. He first opened the first treasure chest, and light flowed out as a stone appeared. It was as big as a fist and was square. It was silver and gave off a faint silver light. Strengthening spatial stone, a stone that has massive spatial attributes. It can be used on teleportation channels or weapons, and it has extremely powerful spatial energy. Looking at this stone, a smile appeared on Zhao Fu's face. With this item, as long as he waited for the Chaotic World Stone Steel to level up to level 6, Zhao Fu would be able to use all of his war points to exchange for a certain item. That way, the Heavenly Domain Stone, World Iron, and Strengthening Spatial Stone would all be useful, and he would be able to create something that Zhao Fu had been waiting for. That item was incredibly important to Qin, and it could allow Qin to take the lead in the entire world and obtain a massive advantage. He would most likely be able to see this item soon, as the Chaotic World Stone Steel was about to level up. After clearing out Red Plum Plains, he would be able to obtain it. The first item was quite good, and Zhao Fu looked at the second item expectantly. It was a very large ballista that was 5 meters wide and 9 meters long. Its structure was quite complicated, and ordinary people would not be able to understand it. However, it gave off an incredibly savage aura and was definitely not an ordinary item. Dragon-slaying ballista, a ballista specifically used to shoot dragons. It has extremely destructive power and can kill all dragons below stage 7. The user's cultivation must be at least stage 4. It was actually used to shoot dragons. With how powerful dragons were, if this thing could directly kill them, it would be enough to show how powerful the dragon-slaying ballista was. Being able to directly kill dragons below stage 7 was quite shocking. Now that Qin had a stage 5 wyvern, its massive aura caused countless people to feel incredibly shocked. With the advantage of the air, even 50,000 stage 1 soldiers would not be able to subdue a single wyvern. On the other hand, this ballista could kill dragons below rank 7. Just thinking about it showed how powerful it was. Since it could kill dragons below rank 7, it could at least heavily injure dragons below rank 7. Its power was simply too shocking. Looking at the massive ballista that gave off a faint light and its complex structure, it was impossible for Qin to create something like this. Just the materials used to construct the ballista were already epic-grade materials. Currently, Qin was still incapable of forging epic equipment. How could he possibly produce such a powerful ballista? The second item was another delightful item, and the anticipation in Zhao Fu's eyes became even stronger as he opened the third item. Light shot out from the treasure chest as a piece of metal appeared. It was as big as an egg and was oval-shaped. It was golden and gave off a brilliant golden light and a sharp aura. Innate variant metal, an extreme epic-grade material that has the sharpness of innate metals, is the most suitable material for forging weapons. Seeing that it was only a single material, Zhao Fu was somewhat disappointed. However, an extreme-grade epic material was already quite good, so Zhao Fu wasn't too disappointed. Now, it was time for the final treasure chest. Zhao Fu wondered what kind of good things it would contain. After Zhao Fu lightly opened it, a medicinal pill appeared in front of him. The medicinal pill was red, black, and yellow, and it gave off a herbal smell. Zhao Fu wasn't sure what kind of medicinal pill it was. Domain pill. After consuming, it can awaken one's own domain. If one already has a domain, consuming this pill can strengthen it. Looking at this medicinal pill, Zhao Fu felt that it was quite good. Now that Zhao Fu had a king's domain, this domain pill could cause his king's domain to once again evolve. Now that he had opened all 4 of the region treasure chests, Zhao Fu was quite satisfied. As expected from something that came from region treasure chests. After returning to his room, Zhao Fu sat cross-legged on his bed and consumed the domain pill. His body trembled as the domain pill turned into 3 streams of energy that flowed through his body and gathered in his mind. Boom! Zhao Fu felt as if his mind had exploded as a black, semicircular barrier of light uncontrollably spread out. It was 300 meters wide, and the 9 dragon inscriptions on the black barrier increased to 36, swimming around it. Zhao Fu's king's domain gave off a powerful aura of suppression, as if it was a dragon's might. It was 4 times as powerful as before, and it gave him even more power and defense. Everyone looked at the massive barrier of dragon inscriptions and felt quite startled. They didn't understand what was going on, and they all worriedly rushed over to Zhao Fu. By then, Zhao Fu had already put away his king's domain, and he received a system announcement. System announcement. Congratulations, you have unlocked perception, one of the 5 celestial senses. Zhao Fu couldn't help but feel delighted. He had never thought that he would be able to unlock the 3rd of the 5 celestial senses like this. Before, Zhao Fu had already unlocked heaven's sense and divine sense, and now he had unlocked perception as well. Now that he had unlocked 3 of the 5 celestial senses, he only had 2 left before he could unlock the legendary celestial mode. Your Majesty, are you all right? Shinru's voice sounded out from outside. Zhao Fu nodded and let her in. Seeing that Zhao Fu was fine, everyone let out a sigh of relief. Now that Zhao Fu had received the backlash from the heaven and earth fate, he couldn't allow anything to happen to him. Elsewhere, Qin's soldiers, who had completed their missions in the 4 regions, started to return, while spies from the other countries stealthily infiltrated the 4 regions. At first, when the spies received their orders, they felt quite nervous because they felt that something big had happened in the 4 regions. If they weren't careful, they might be caught by Qin, and it would be best for them to commit suicide. Otherwise, they would be skinned alive by Qin and suffer a fate worse than death. Everyone was incredibly clear about Qin's brutality, but after spending a few days in the 4 regions, they found that nothing had happened, and they all reported back. After hearing about this, countless factions let out a sigh of relief. The 2 sides, who had entered a truce, once again started to fight intensely. What supported this war was massive profits, and it was impossible for the 2 sides to stop so easily. Zhao Fu spent the next few days quite leisurely. Because he didn't have much to do, he rode on Little Black, took Little Gray, and Little White, and walked around Qin's territory. Little Black, Little Gray, and Little White suddenly felt that these names were quite childish, and they suited their powerful appearances. As such, Zhao Fu renamed them Little Black to Black Forest, Little Gray to Moon Wolf, and Little White to Fat Cat. Little Black had the underworld nightmare bloodline, so it was incredibly fast, and its hooves were accompanied by green flames. Little Gray's body was now snow white, and it didn't have gray fur like before. It also had a pair of silver eyes, as if it had the Howling Moon bloodline. Not only did its movements become much more elegant, but its appearance also became more handsome and dignified. Chapter 588. Before, Little White was quite dissatisfied with this name, and it acted as if it didn't want to talk to Zhao Fu anymore. However, when Zhao Fu agreed to take it out to play, it jumped onto Zhao Fu's body and quickly accepted this name. Now, the 3 of them were all Lord-class creatures and were quite powerful. Because Zhao Fu had been nurturing them this entire time, with the heaven and earth refining formation, they could obtain many things to advance. Zhao Fu rode on Black Forest and slowly walked through the forest with Moon Wolf by his side and Fat Cat comfortably perched on Zhao Fu's shoulder. There was also a wyvern flying in the sky. It was the wyvern that Zhao Fu had hatched. After a few months of feeding, and with the effects of the raising stone, the wyvern's body was much larger than before. Its wings were now 5 meters wide, and it gave off a powerful dragon's might. It was now a Lord-class creature, and Zhao Fu had named it Dragon Spirit. By now, all of Xianyang City belonged to Qin City, and Zhao Fu was quite pleased with this. Qin City's path to restoring its kingdom wasn't far off. After playing around for a day, the sun set over the western mountains, dyeing half the sky golden. It looked quite beautiful. When they returned to Qin City, Shinru was already waiting for them. When she saw Zhao Fu return, she smiled and bowed as she said, "Your Majesty." Zhao Fu softly nodded and got off his horse before asking, "How's the progress?" Xianru replied, "Everything is going quite smoothly. We've already started creating reality-harming talismans, and we're preparing talisman weapons." Over the past few days, Zhao Fu had changed professions to 20,000 talisman masters. At the same time, they continuously practiced drawing talismans, and in order to quickly grasp the profession of talisman master, Zhao Fu had hired over 100 talisman masters with high salaries. These talisman masters were all intermediate talisman masters, and while it was said that they had been hired with high salaries, Zhao Fu had actually used the benefits to convince them to join Qin City. However, although there were many intermediate symbol masters, not a single advanced symbol master was willing to come. However, Zhao Fu did not expect that there would be an advanced symbol master in his own city. Zhao Fu had conquered many system-main cities and subdued many indigenous residents, and this advanced talisman master was one of them. He was called Shi Qianhua, and he was an elder who looked to be in his 50s. He had a rather fiery temper, but in front of Zhao Fu, he was a meek old man. Making charms would become a very important production in Qin City. Zhao Fu also set up a special department to manage it. Because Shi Qianhua knew this better, Zhao Fu asked him to manage it. With the addition of Shi Qianhua and hundreds of intermediate talisman masters, those who had just advanced professions quickly learned. After a few days of hard work and sharing their experiences with others, they also successfully entered the realm of elementary talisman masters and started to create true harm talismans. These true harm talismans were one of Qin City's trump cards, and they were specially used to deal with ordinary people. It was best to obtain them as soon as possible to avoid any unexpected events. 3 days later, regardless of the battles outside, Qin City silently stayed where it was and did not make any big movements. Qin City's soldiers continued to clear out the Red Plum Plains. In China's battle, the southern side's battle was quite ordinary. Even though the eastern side's battle was quite intense, China was not weak at all. The northern side's battle was as calm as a lake, and the southern side's battle was the most dangerous. India was definitely China's greatest enemy, and the Chinese side had always been at a disadvantage. If China directly fought with India, India would definitely lose. However, things were different now. China not only had to fight with India, but 21 other countries. All of the other countries had their own forces, so they could not focus on India. Now, India had gathered 10 million or so people and started to invade from another region. The Chinese side had also urgently gathered people to defend. "Your Majesty, the talisman equipment has been successfully forged," an elderly man said delightedly as he held a newly forged weapon and came before Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu was currently sitting on a bamboo chair next to a small stream, leisurely fishing. Hearing Shi Qianhua's words, Zhao Fu smiled and took the sword Shi Qianhua handed over. This sword was slightly green because it was made of bronze essence. It was 1 meter long, and there was a row of runes on the spine of the sword, which Zhao Fu could not understand. There was a talisman stone at the joint of the hilt and blade, and the sword gave off a mysterious and obscure feeling. Zhao Fu gripped the sword and tried to send his cultivation power into it. The sword buzzed, and the row of runes on the spine of the sword gave off a faint white light. The two sides of the sword gave off a sharp sword light, and the cold and sharp feeling caused people's hairs to stand on end. This sword also became extraordinary. It was like a peerless sword, and it gave off an incredibly sharp aura that could make people shiver in fear. Xing! Zhao Fu casually slashed out, and a white sword arc flashed. A tree that was as thick as a person's thigh fell to the ground, and the cut was as smooth as a mirror. Seeing this, Zhao Fu felt quite shocked. This was much sharper than ordinary silver-grade weapons. Seeing how shocked Zhao Fu was, Shi Qianhua gave a pleased smile and said, "Your Majesty, this talisman equipment can also be used with talisman papers. This talisman equipment can also be used with talisman papers." Zhao Fu nodded and took a small fireball talisman and stuck it on the sword. He once again sent his cultivation power into it, and a row of runes lit up. The talisman paper on the sword started to burn, and its fire attribute power fused into the sword. The sword light that the blade gave off became a fiery color, and Zhao Fu casually slashed out, causing a fiery sword chi to slash out. This talisman equipment was incredibly powerful, and if Qin could fully equip it, his battle power would increase by many times. Zhao Fu felt quite excited. This equipment was made from blue-grade materials and white-grade talisman stones, and its power was not any weaker than an exquisite silver-grade weapon. In fact, it could even be compared to a trash gold-grade weapon. If he used higher-grade talisman stones and higher-grade materials, the talisman equipment would be even more powerful. Now, Great Qin did not lack any blue-grade materials at all, as they had bronze concentrate mines. Silver-grade materials could be bought from other regions, plundered from other system main cities, and killed other creatures. Great Qin also had some gold-grade materials. Great Qin did not lack any blue-grade materials at all. However, it was difficult to obtain talisman stones. Normally, talisman stones were quite rare, and Zhao Fu had only bought 150,000 talisman stones from 100 or so regions. Most of them were white-grade talisman stones, and he only had 1,000 or so blue-grade talisman stones. Chapter 589. High-grade talisman stones and high-grade materials could create talisman equipment that would be even more powerful. Thinking about his soldiers, each of them wielding a legendary grade weapon, they would be able to kill anything that stood in their way. However, it was impossible for him to do that right now. So Zhao Fu returned the sword to Shi Qianhua and ordered him to create 150,000 pieces of talisman equipment for his soldiers before considering anything else. By now, the truth-harming talismans and talisman equipment were being created, and Zhao Fu felt much more at ease. Another day passed, and another piece of good news came. Qin had discovered a small city, and it was an elf city. This elf city was deep within a forest, and it was very difficult for ordinary people to discover it. There were 210,000 elves, which was quite ordinary. Elves did not enslave other races, so there were only elves in the elf city. However, in terms of strength, this city's battle strength was many times that of the Kobold City. This was because not only did this city have powerful archers, but it also had cavalry. They used a type of giant deer as their mounts. These giant deer were similar to the orcs' giant wolves, and they had been bred using special methods. Not only were they twice as big as normal deer, but they were also very powerful and could easily carry two people on their backs as they ran. Moreover, their antlers were large and sharp, and anyone who was hit by them would feel quite uncomfortable. Apart from cavalry and archers, the elves also had mages. Even though there were not many of them, they could still deal some damage, and they also had healing skills. There was also a special type of soldier within their infantry. Zhao Fu did not know what they were, but they were quite powerful. All of them wore silver clothes and held silver swords, and they gave off a holy and dignified aura. Finally, there was something else. The elf city had a very tall and lush tree, which was most likely the tree of life. It gave elves some buffs, such as increasing their recovery speed and healing effects when they were injured. With so many stats added together, the elf city's battle strength was not any weaker than the orc cities, and its defenses were even stronger than the orc cities. Orcs and elves had relatively high statuses among outlanders, and they were not people that the kobolds and goblins could compare to. They also had many legacies, so they were quite powerful. However, in front of Great Qin, all of this was nothing. Great Qin could easily destroy it. In fact, Zhao Fu could not even be bothered to bring a single soldier, and he directly brought 21 city lords above the elf city. A massive and terrifying aura covered the elf city, causing all of the elves to fall into terror. Their bodies instinctively trembled as they looked up at the godlike 20 or so people in the sky. Zhao Fu looked at the handsome elf below and did not waste any words as he said, "I'll give you two choices, surrender, and I'll give you two options. You can either surrender or slaughter the entire city." The handsome young man's expression was very unsightly, and he was hesitating. The elves around him were divided into two factions. "City Lord, let's fight it out with them. I don't believe that the 200,000 people in the elf city will be afraid of just 20 of them. An elf said angrily. Master King, elf city lord city. No, the other side has 21 city lords, and if we fight, we'll definitely lose. Let's just surrender. You also have outlander city lords in the sky, which means that this person definitely won't torture us. An elderly elf hurriedly tried to persuade them. Zhao Fu had to wait for their reply in the air. Zhao Fu did not like killing, or else he would not have asked them if they wanted to surrender. However, since they had chosen to resist, Zhao Fu could only start a massacre. After all, he had given them a choice. Zhao Fu planned to give this city lord seal to Daisy when he returned. After a while, Zhao Fu still did not receive a reply. Seeing that the elf city was determined to resist to the death, a large number of archers arrived, and the commoners picked up their bows and arrows. Zhao Fu did not say anything else and directly said, "Kill the city lords. If any commoners resist, kill them as well." The other city lords obeyed Zhao Fu's orders, and even more intense auras exploded out, sweeping through the elf city like a tornado. Countless trees madly swayed, and some stones and roofs were blown into the sky. They were about to listen to Zhao Fu's orders and start a massacre. However, at that moment, a gentle voice sounded out. "Master, can you wait? Can you wait a moment? Those are my clansmen, and I want to persuade them as well." Swish, swish, swish. The sound of the air being torn could be heard as countless arrows containing immense force shot into the sky from below, creating a shocking scene. Boom, boom, boom. Qingtown city lords unleashed their city lord seals, causing terrifying power to spread out as the city lords worked together to create a barrier. Countless arrows hit the barrier like raindrops, but they were all deflected. Not a single arrow broke through the barrier, and instead, a rain of arrows descended, scaring countless elves into finding cover. A trace of disdain appeared on Zhao Fu's face. How could 80,000 to 90,000 arrows break through the defenses of 20 or so city lords? Without 400,000 to 500,000 arrows, it would be impossible to break through the defenses of 20 or so city lords. Hearing Celia's words, Zhao Fu had wanted to stop and give them a chance. However, since they had taken the initiative to attack, Zhao Fu would not hold back, and his gaze became cold as he yelled, "Kill!" The 20 or so figures in the sky turned into rays of light as they shot towards the elf city. 10 of the city lords directly attacked the elf city lord, while the remaining city lords attacked the countless elf soldiers and civilians. Celia did not say anything, and a trace of sadness appeared on her face as she felt quite uncomfortable. She had the elf royal bloodline, and she was very close to the Tree of Life and the elves. She had wanted to use her status to persuade them, and perhaps they would surrender. However, it seemed that it was impossible, as Zhao Fu had already given the order. The 10 city lords attacked the elf city lord, and they unleashed their most powerful attacks. Even though the elf city lord did his best to defend, he was still heavily injured. The other city lords charged into the crowd and unleashed terrifying attacks. Saber lights and sword lights flew everywhere as explosions continuously sounded out. Massive shockwaves blasted out, causing buildings to collapse and the ground to crack. Cries of pain and blood continuously flowed out. Facing the city lord attacks, the Stage 1 soldiers were able to resist, but the civilians were unable to resist at all and continuously died. However, the city lords mostly attacked the elf soldiers and did not slaughter the civilians. There were roughly 60,000 elf soldiers in the elf city, and only a few of them were killed in a short while. With the power of 21 city lords, if Zhao Fu went to attack a system main city, it would be incredibly difficult for that system main city to defend, let alone a basic city. However, Zhao Fu did not dare to directly attack a system main city, as he was afraid that they would ally together. Right now, Qin did not have the strength to deal with a few regions, so it was best to keep a low profile and wait until he cleared out the 4 regions. Chapter 590. Zhao Fu sensed Celia's emotions and said in a comforting tone, "Don't worry. As long as they're willing to surrender, I won't kill them all. Celia felt a warmth in her heart and came out of the sword mark. She happily hugged Zhao Fu and smiled as she said, Thank you, master. Seeing how shy she looked, Zhao Fu smiled and stroked her hair. Seeing this, Long Xiao Xiao thought to herself and came out of the sword mark. She rubbed her large left chest and pretended to be in pain as she said, Master, I'm also in pain. I want a hug. As she spoke, Long Xiao Xiao leapt at Zhao Fu, but Zhao Fu pushed her away and said, Forget it. Long Xiao Xiao could only look at Zhao Fu begrudgingly, and Celia's face was bright red as she returned to the sword mark. Long Xiao Xiao stayed behind and hugged Zhao Fu's hand. However, she kept hugging Zhao Fu's hand and burrowing into his clothes, and only after Zhao Fu knocked her on the head did she stop. By now, the battle had concluded. The elf city lord had been pierced through the heart by Meng Tian's spear and died, and the other soldiers had resisted for a bit before being suppressed. The elf city seal was a wooden seal with elves carved on it. There were originally 210,000 elves, but only 100,000 remained. 90,000 of them were civilians, and 10,000 were soldiers. Zhao Fu did not care about this, and went to the city to look at the things he was interested in. The first was the elf city's barracks. Zhao Fu did not look at the basic military professions and only looked at the two professions. Deer Cavalry, D-grade military, description, the elf race's exclusive cavalry, and they are suited for fighting in forests. Effect, every player will receive Elven Valor. Divine Tree Warrior, B-grade military, description, the guardian warriors of the Divine Tree, and they have powerful Divine Tree power. Effect, everyone receives Tree of Life power. After looking at the elf cavalry stats, Zhao Fu felt that they were quite good. Qin could be nurtured so that Qin's army could adapt to different battlefields. The Divine Tree Warriors were the soldiers wearing silver equipment and holding silver swords. Their strength could rival Stage 2 soldiers, and they were quite powerful. They were even stronger than ordinary Stage 2 soldiers. As expected of a B class, this class also had a limit. There were only 500 of them, which was quite a small number. However, the number of Divine Tree Warriors depended on the Tree of Life. The taller the tree was, the more Divine Tree Warriors could change professions. Following this, Zhao Fu came to a tree that was 10 or so meters tall. The tree was 2 meters wide and had a lush canopy that spread out like an umbrella. The tree gave off a faint green light and an aura of life. Tree, a level 1 fairy race's Tree of Life. It has the tree and has in it Qin Tes Fu's leaves. Zhao Fu could bring this tree back, and if he could plant it in large numbers, he could nurture a group of Divine Tree Warriors. This profession was quite ferocious in battle. Following this, Zhao Fu gave the order to start digging, and they came to a denver. This den was quite similar to the den in the Orc City. There was a stage made of bricks, and there was a green crystal floating above it. Giant Deer Den, basic town, grade, gold description, a special den fused with an elf blood crystal and a deer denver. It can spawn 45 to 75 giant deer every day. After looking at the den stats, Zhao Fu relocated the elf city. This elf city was an intermediate basic city, and he obtained 420,000 EXP, 40 war points, and 2,000 achievement points. Zhao Fu brought the elves back to Qin and rebuilt the elf city. He gave the elf city seal to Daisy and made her the city lord. Zhao Fu did not care about anything else, and he ordered people to plant the Tree of Life. He felt quite worried, as he did not know if it would survive after being transplanted, and he was also worried about how to get the Tree of Life saplings. Zhao Fu remembered that some trees could be directly planted in the ground, and they would sprout and grow into a new tree. However, ordinary trees would still bear fruit and grow seeds. Zhao Fu did not know much about the Tree of Life, so he asked Celia about it. Zhao Fu found out that the Tree of Life would bear 5 fruits of life every 10 years. These fruits of life could be consumed to obtain massive amounts of life force and heal countless injuries. At the same time, they could be planted in the ground, and a new Tree of Life would grow. Of course, the Tree of Life had different grades. The higher the grade of the Tree of Life, the more powerful it would be, and the longer it would take for it to bear fruits of life. The tree of life that Zhao Fu had obtained was only level 1, so it would bear 5 fruits of life every 10 years. However, 10 years was too long, and Zhao Fu could not afford to wait. Who knew what would happen in 10 years? As such, Zhao Fu decided to give up on the idea of nurturing a large number of divine tree warriors. At that moment, Celius said that if he had water of life, he could catalyze the growth of the tree of life. Moreover, if he planted the tree of life's branches on the ground and watered them with water of life, there was a chance that they would grow. However, Zhao Fu knew about water of life because it was a very famous and precious item. Even in the elf race, it was quite rare, and it was usually obtained in drops. This was because it had an extremely powerful life force and was a holy medicine for healing injuries. It was rumored that only the elf kingdom could produce a small amount of water of life, so it was impossible for Zhao Fu to produce water of life. Zhao Fu sighed, and just as he was about to give up, the golden dragon within his body said, "I know of a special method to create water of life." Hearing this, Zhao Fu felt quite delighted and rejoiced. Obtaining the golden dragon's information was equivalent to obtaining a massive treasure trove. "What method?" Zhao Fu asked. The golden dragon quickly replied, "Water of life is a very good healing item, and our Heaven Murder Empire uses it to heal injuries. However, water of life is indeed quite rare, even among the elves. However, our Heaven Murder Empire has a monstrous genius who created a special method to create water of life." Because Zhao Fu had the information from God Kerr, he knew how precious water of life was, and he couldn't help but think to himself, the Heaven Murder Empire is simply too extravagant. Ordinary soldiers use water of life to heal injuries. Zhao Fu did not think too much about it, and asked, "What special method is it?" Chapter 591. World Tree Seeds? That's an incredibly rare item. The World Tree is the final form of the Tree of Life, and its seeds can directly grow into high-grade trees of life. Normally, the Elf Empire wouldn't leak this information. 5 trees of life wasn't much, but Zhao Fu knew that it would be quite difficult to obtain World Tree seeds. If he couldn't obtain them, he would have to use ordinary trees of life seeds. Is that all? You can produce a large amount of water of life, just like that? Zhao Fu asked. Of course not. We need to put a large number of corpses into the well of life to produce more water of life. The golden dragon replied. After hearing this, Zhao Fu realized that this fountain of life was turning corpses into water of life, which was quite evil. However, Zhao Fu wasn't against it. With the water of life's effects, it would reduce the deaths of countless soldiers, which was incredibly important to Qin City. It was just that the materials would be quite difficult to obtain. Qin City now had 1 tree of life, so he was still lacking 4. As for the corpses, there was no need to worry about them. Qin City had obtained many corpses every day from clearing out regions. Most of the corpses didn't even have stage 1 corpses, and their grade were quite bad, so they were basically useless. If they could be put into the fountain of life, they would be able to make good use of them. After conquering the Elf City, Zhao Fu didn't have much to do. He wanted to manage the internal affairs of the city, but he found that there wasn't much to see. Whether it was production or construction, everything was done in an orderly manner, and there were specialized people to manage everything. The 4 main roads were quickly constructed, but because Qin City had unified the Xianyang region, the 4 roads had to be extended so that they could traverse the entire Xianyang region. Qin City was now just like an ordinary system main city, and it was incredibly lively and prosperous. In terms of production, it was the same as before. Most of the food was stored, so there were many granaries. Fruits could be sold, consumed, or made into wine. In terms of management, there were also people who taught them how to manage villages and cities. There were also people who taught them how to manage people before being given positions. Because of Zhao Fu's injuries, he could not go anywhere. Even though he had recovered some of his strength, he still could not protect himself and needed many people to accompany him. Zhao Fu did not want that. so he could only stay within the territory. This was quite boring, and Zhao Fu decided that he could not continue like this. As such, he decided to send Qin as an assassin to the various regions to capture women with Phoenix Qi so that he could heal his injuries. Qin's assassins obeyed Zhao Fu's orders and snuck in his system main cities like ghosts, searching for women with Phoenix Qi. Zhao Fu could only wait in the city lord's mansion. He also took the opportunity to take a look at the 3 guards he was nurturing, Gao Li, Moni, and Joyce. They were also the inheritors of the Silver Lake Immortal. Right now, their strength was still relatively low, but they could still use some of the power of the concept. Because Gao Li was a city lord, even though she had only used the Silver Lake Immortal equipment for a short period of time, she was still able to quickly activate its power. The sword Qi that she sent out was incredibly sharp, and it contained the power of the concept. Cutting through rocks was like cutting through tofu to her. Moni was a Xiongnu woman, and when she swung her saber, she was quite ferocious and gave off a wild aura. This was a racial talent, and Zhao Fu quite liked this kind of woman. Even though her relationship with Zhao Fu had been quite tense and cold when she had been forced to submit, after such a long time, their relationship had improved. Even when Zhao Fu hugged her and touched her important parts, she did not resist. As for Joyce, he used a bow, so each of his arrows was incredibly sharp and powerful. A full-powered arrow could pierce through a 2-meter-thick wall. Apart from these things, Zhao Fu also started to worry about the border regions. Right now, the only border region that Qin could go to was the border region of Vietnam. The rewards for this transfer of fate were quite good, but considering the losses, Zhao Fu did not plan to participate. His main task was to clear out the 4 regions. Before, Qin had established a massive faction, which was the Vietnamese Guard. It was a faction that focused on patriotism and defending the country. At first, Qin had wanted to greatly support the Vietnamese Guard and have it devour all of Vietnam. However, as Qin's strategy changed, the resources that supported the Vietnamese Guard greatly decreased. However, after such a long time, the Vietnamese Guard's foundation was still quite firm, and it was loved and worshipped by countless Vietnamese players. Now, there were 3 million Vietnamese players, and as the leader of the Vietnamese Guard, Lai Ching-hsien had become the most popular woman in Vietnam. Countless celebrities and nobles treated her with respect, and when the ordinary people saw how beautiful Lai Ching-hsien was, they all viewed her as a goddess and passionately liked her. Thus, she was pursued by countless people. Zhao Fu did not support or oppose the invasion of China, and he simply did what needed to be done. Right now, the only border region that was not at war was North Vietnam. This was because all of the players in those 2 regions were controlled by Qin. More accurately speaking, Qin Zhao controlled the cores of the 2 alliances. Before, Qin had led both sides and created their own alliances. He would then get rid of those who did not want to participate, and he would then get rid of those who disobeyed him. In the end, he would firmly control both alliances. As for the other regions, Zhao Fu could not completely control them, so he would do what needed to be done. The Vietnamese Guard could use this opportunity to infiltrate into Vietnam and gain even more power. Now, Qin did not lack resources at all, and he could provide them to the Vietnamese Guard, allowing it to develop and secretly control Vietnam. This was something that everyone was quite excited about, as this was secretly controlling an entire country. Zhao Fu was not stingy at all, and he gave a large amount of resources to Lai Ching-hsien so that she could continue to develop and become stronger. Moreover, through killing creatures, Qin had obtained many border medallions. These border medallions could allow one to go to border regions, but there were restrictions. For example, if one obtained a border medallion in the southern part of the Midland continent, it could only go to the southern border, and it would be a one-way trip. The chaotic world stone steel could also be exchanged for border medallions. Advanced border medallions could allow one to go back and forth, while peak border medallions could allow one to go to any border provided that one was in one's own country. These border medallions were not very useful to Zhao Fu, so they could be sold. Zhao Fu did not have any plans to participate in the war. After dealing with these matters, another day passed. Qin's assassins performed quite well, and they captured 11 women. Chapter 592. All of a sudden, many good-looking women were scared and didn't dare to go out. The rumor became more and more terrible. It was said that Qin's crown prince was promiscuous and had thousands of women in a day. Now he was seriously short of women, so he ordered his soldiers to capture beautiful women for his pleasure. Now, 7,000 or so female players have been captured by Great Qin's soldiers and given to Great Qin's legatee to enjoy. They were such good women, but they had to endure Great Qin's legatee's abuse every day. Countless people were talking about it, especially the male comrades who were angry. Why didn't he have that ability? Countless women directly cursed. Pervert. Animal. Animal with lower body. Pervert. Bastard. Zhao Fu was also a little surprised. The rumor was too exaggerated. Qin had only captured 11 women. How could it become more than 7,000? Besides, Qin's assassins were very secretive, so they shouldn't be discovered. Even if they were discovered, they might not think that it was Qin who did it. Someone must have spread the rumor. But when Zhao Fu saw the information of the 11 women, he completely understood. The first woman Qin caught was a member of Huayu. Zhao Fu didn't do it on purpose. Huayu must be mad now. After capturing the first person, Flower Moon had tried everything they could to save their people, but they had not succeeded. Zhao Fu did not accept any of their conditions, but they had not given up and had tried to work together in exchange for their people. However, before they could save the first woman, the second one was caught by Qin. Huayu immediately wanted to argue with Zhao Fu, but they didn't even get to see Zhao Fu. Now, they couldn't save the first two, and the third one was caught by Qin. How could they not be angry? In addition to the members of Huayu, this time Qin also caught many influential people, such as the most famous Twilight Girls in Huaxia. The Twilight Girls was composed of 8 members, each of whom was 17 or 18 years old. They were all very beautiful, and they were also versatile. They were loved by many people for their dancing and singing. Out of all the girl groups in the country, they were the most popular and popular. But now, 6 of the 8 of them had been captured by Qin, leaving only 2 members of the Twilight Girls troupe. They would definitely disband. Countless people would be heartbroken that they would never see the Twilight Girls troupe again. There was another woman who also received a lot of attention. She was the wife of a male star. That male star must be very famous in China. Because they had just divorced, she received a lot of attention. In the end, there was also a famous female host who was also captured. Capturing so many influential people at once definitely attracted a lot of attention, so the impact of this matter was very big. However, Zhao Fu didn't care about it. He ordered people to bring them all to him. First, the woman from Huayu was 23 or 24 years old. She was very pretty and had delicate skin. Now, she was looking at Zhao Fu angrily. Her name was LV Nanlei. Then, there were the 6 girls from the Twilight Girls troupe. They all had delicate facial features and were very beautiful. They were about the same height and had different temperaments. They all looked around in fear. Their names were Zhao Shuxian, Yin Menghuai, Zhuan Nanqin, Bailvai, Long Pei and Xia Xiaoyao. Then, there was the divorced woman. She was beautiful, tall, and had fair skin. She had a sexy temperament. Her name was Zheng Lindy. Then, there was a female host. When Zhao Fu was working, he had seen her on TV, so he knew her. She had a good face and was about 27 years old. She was an intellectual, mature woman. Her name was Yi Qiuxia. Now, there were 9 people, and there were 2 left. One was the big miss of a large family. She looked quite delicate and had tears streaming down her face. Her name was Zhang Yingying. Finally, there was a gentle and quiet girl. She was not very old and was most likely still in school. Her name was Qi Wenli. When she had first seen Zhao Fu, she had knelt down and begged Zhao Fu to spare her. She said that she came from a village, that her father was disabled, and that her family relied on her mother. Her family was waiting for her to study and find a good job to take care of the family, so she could not stay here. Zhao Fu looked at her. Her words didn't seem to be fake, but she had already consumed a reality fruit and could not return to the real world. However, Zhao Fu promised to give her family a large sum of money as compensation. Qi Wenli was incredibly grateful to Zhao Fu and expressed that she was willing to become Zhao Fu's woman. In actuality, no matter what, they would not be able to resist. However, if they were willing, Zhao Fu would be happy. Following this, they were all conferred titles. The 11 of them all gave off golden phoenix qi that could condense in a mist. It was quite shocking, and they all entered the Emperor Phoenix statue. The Emperor Phoenix once again appeared and gave off a pleasant cry. Zhao Fu's injuries quickly recovered, and with the phoenix qi from these 11 women and the fate from before, most of Zhao Fu's injuries had recovered, and he could now use half of his strength. System announcement. Qin's legatee's injuries are recovering, and Qin's fate is also recovering, causing China's fate to start recovering. The fate transfer has slowed down. System announcement. Due to the slowing down of the fate transfer, the bonuses have been reduced. Foreigners attacking Chinese people will only receive 4 times the rewards and a small amount of fate. System announcement. China's fate is recovering, and once it fully recovers, the fate transfer will stop. No one had expected that Qin would be so important to this battle. Everything had started with Qin, and everything had been destroyed by Qin. As long as Qin's fate recovered and Qin's legatee's injuries were healed, this battle would end. Zhao Fu had never thought that his injuries and Qin's injuries would be so important to China. Everyone else felt quite confused, as they had never thought that this would end the battle. What should we do? Help Qin recover his fate? And help Qin recover? Countless dynasty legatees and factions' expressions became quite unsightly. They had tried so hard not to heavily injure Qin, but this was the result. The other foreign factions were also quite shocked. Before, they had received 5 times the rewards, but now it had been reduced to 4 times. If Qin recovered, their rewards would decrease, and if Qin fully recovered, the massive fate transfer would stop. When that time came, China's situation would become the same as the other continents, with countries fighting each other. Without high rewards, no one would attack China. When that time came, their massive invasion would end in failure, and they would have to face China's terrifying retaliation. The outcome would be unimaginable. Chapter 593. In actuality, the place where Zhao Fu was currently was not the true Heaven Awakened world. The true Heaven Awakened world was a vast and boundless world. The place where Zhao Fu was now was called the Legacy Land. Just like its name suggested, the Legacy Land was a place to receive all sorts of legacies. These legacies were historical legacies, such as the legacies of various dynasties and families. Every century, the Heaven Awakened world would devour some worlds into the Heaven Awakened world. In order to prevent new worlds from being slaughtered, they had set up a protected area, which was the Legacy Land. The Legacy Land was not only a place to receive legacies, but also a place to protect newcomers. It protected the newcomers and allowed them to receive all sorts of legacies, allowing them to develop and defend against outside factions. The heavenly domain boundary was the barrier that protected the Legacy Land. If the heavenly domain boundary disappeared, the Legacy Land would truly fuse with the Heaven Awakened world. Only then would the world be called the Heaven Awakened world, and now it was called the Legacy Land. It was like a very large map with a small pellet that was protected by a semicircle. That was what it meant. The Legacy Land was at the boundary of the Heaven Awakened world, and because the Heaven Awakened world continuously devoured worlds, it became larger. Some devoured worlds would naturally appear at the boundary, continuously increasing the Heaven Awakened world size. There were great benefits to being at the boundary of the Heaven Awakened world, and because the Heaven Awakened world would continuously devour worlds, it would continuously become larger. Some devoured worlds would naturally appear at the boundary, continuously increasing the Heaven Awakened world size. How could someone who had only been in the Heaven Awakened world for a few years fight against a faction that had developed for tens of thousands of years? They would be completely suppressed and would not be able to resist at all. Zhao Fu found out from the demon gods information that most people in the Heaven Awakened world called the boundary regions. Not only did they not have much fate, but they also did not have many benefits. As such, most ancient factions would not make a move against these boundary regions. This was why the boundary regions, countless kingdoms, and worlds have been able to avoid calamities. If there was any danger, it would be the worlds that had been devoured in the previous century. They had developed for at least a few decades, and even though they were weaker than others, dealing with people from a new world like Zhao Fu was quite simple. The ancient powers looked down on desolate border regions, but others were quite envious because not only could they obtain large amounts of fate, they could also obtain countless slaves and resources. Slavery was quite common in the Heaven Awakened world, and most of them were conquered kingdoms and races. Very few people would accept people from other worlds, as they were xenophobic. As such, those who conquered them would only see them as slaves and not subjects. Zhao Fu had said before that after the Heaven Awakened world devoured the real world, there would be a catastrophe, which was the invasion of other worlds. Others had developed for decades, while others had only developed for a few years. It was evident that they were at a disadvantage. Just like the genocide mentioned before and the enslavement of countless people, this was not Zhao Fu's exaggeration. This was something that would really happen. Most of the people in the Legacy Land didn't know about these things. The chaotic world was a cruel environment to train people's resistance. At this time, they could revive infinitely, but when the time came, they would be dead, and there would be no more chances. Now, it was forbidden to talk about the Legacy Land because if they did, it would cause panic and they would not be able to develop according to the Heaven Awakened world's plans. If everyone in the world knew about this, they would definitely make preparations, and the Heaven Awakened world would think that they had made preparations and closed the Heaven Domain boundary ahead of time. When that time came, even if they made sufficient preparations, they would not have enough time and would still be easily destroyed. As such, the Heaven Awakened world nurtured a group of experts to ensure that the new world would not be easily destroyed. As for the weak, they would become nourishment for the experts and defend against the invasions of other worlds. Before, Zhao Fu had heard the black and white impermanences and Oxhead and Horseface mention the Legacy Land, but they had not been able to say it, as they would receive a system announcement. Luckily, Zhao Fu had not relied on them, and had instead devoured a demon godly spirit's divinity to obtain some information from the outside world. Otherwise, he would have been kept in the dark and would only have found out when the Heaven Awakened world devoured the real world. Now, everyone in this region, no matter what race, nationality, or skin color, they were called humans, and humans represented everyone on Earth. The other worlds also had similar names. Humans were unique to Earth, and it was the same for the other new worlds. Zhao Fu did not know how many races existed next to humans, as they had only been devoured in the last century. It had not been that long, so Zhao Fu and the Golden Dragon did not know. The demon god could not remember everything, as it was only a weak, godly spirit. Right now, the outside world was filled with unknowns, and if Zhao Fu could go to the outside world, he would have an advantage over the rest of the world. As mentioned before, this was quite important to Qin. The Heaven Domain Stone that Zhao Fu had obtained in the past could be used to break open the Heaven Domain boundary. Boundary iron was an essential material for opening doors to other worlds, and strengthening spatial stones could increase spatial power. What Zhao Fu had been waiting for this entire time was the transboundary teleportation channel, which could allow a person to travel across a world, and he could only exchange for it after the chaotic world stone steel reached level 6. The reason why Zhao Fu had always been saving war points was because he wanted to exchange for transboundary teleportation channels. These things were incredibly expensive, and he would not be able to exchange for them, even if he spent a few war points. In actuality, Zhao Fu was quite eager to personally see what the Heaven Awakened world was like, and he wanted to know how strong his enemies were in the future. He wanted to make preparations so that when they invaded, Qin would not be able to retaliate at all. This was the reason why Zhao Fu wanted to quickly establish a kingdom. Only by establishing a kingdom would he have a trace of resistance. or else he would not be able to resist at all. Right now, no matter how intense the battles within the Legacy Land were, it was meaningless. Zhao Fu was quite clear about his enemies in the future, so he had to make preparations to defend against them. Zhao Fu was not as short-sighted as the other legatees. Fighting between them was a form of internal strife, but this was good as well. After all, even a group of sheep was not as strong as a ferocious tiger. The weak did not deserve to live in this world. The world was just that cruel. Moreover, China occupied the Midland continent, which was the center of the Legacy Land, which was also beneficial because the invasions would definitely start from other continents. Zhao Fu did not know what the future would be like. He did not know how many people would die, how many races would be destroyed, and how many kingdoms would disappear. In front of a battle between worlds, Zhao Fu was still as weak as an ant. The Golden Dragon was right. The human world was only a low-leveled world, and there were higher-leveled worlds and legacies. The human world was actually quite weak. Chapter 594. There were countless races in the Heaven Awakened world, and no one knew exactly how many there were. It was possible that there were tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of races, but they were roughly split into 8 main races. First, the human race referred to creatures with a human form as their foundation. They were intelligent and had a pure human bloodline. For example, the humans on Earth and some other races that met the requirements could be called the human race. Second, the devil race referred to creatures with beast-like forms and intelligence. High-level devils could turn into humanoid forms, such as the six-eyed flood dragon and the wind dragon lord. Third, the demon race included all demon races, and those with pure demon bloodlines were also called the demon race. Fourth, outlanders referred to all other races, such as elves, orcs, goblins, and kobolds. They were all called outlanders. Even though some races had humanoid forms, they did not have human bloodlines, so they were excluded by the human race and called outlanders. Fifth, the god race referred to creatures with divine attributes, including gods and god descendants. They were creatures with divine blood, so they were also called the god race. There were also creatures created by gods, such as angels and elemental spirits. Sixth, the water race referred to creatures that lived in water. There were many water regions in the Heaven Awakened world, and the water race mainly lived in them. There were all sorts of strange creatures. Some were humanoid forms, some were beast-like forms, but they did not belong to the human race, devil race, or outlander race, so they were called the water race. Seventh, the death race included all undead creatures and ghosts. There were also some underworld races, such as the black and white impermanences, oxhead, and horseface. Eighth, the spirit race referred to creatures with intelligence. For example, a stone, a tree, or an orb of fire all had their own consciousness and intelligence. They were all from the spirit race, and out of the 8 major races, the spirit race was the least numerous. Out of the 8 major races, the human race was relatively weak, but it was very tolerant and could accept the other 7 major races. As such, it had a lot of power in the Heaven Awakened world. If one had to choose the most powerful races, there would be 3: the devil race, the god race, and the demon race. The devil race could control tens of thousands of beasts, and their powerful bodies could easily destroy worlds. The god race and devil race's innate attributes were much better than the other races, so the 3 races were stronger than the other 5 races. Apart from races, there were also nations. Nations in the Heaven Awakened world were split into many levels. The weakest nation was called a barony kingdom, followed by a marquisate kingdom, a dukedom kingdom, a royal kingdom, an imperial kingdom, an empire, and a holy kingdom. Each level was split into 9 levels, such as a level 1 barony to a level 9 barony. These barony kingdoms were created by a powerful kingdom, and they were given a piece of land to establish their own kingdom. A marquisate was similar to a vassal, and only a dukedom had a certain amount of power. A royal kingdom's power was above that of a royal kingdom, and an empire was above that of an imperial kingdom. The highest level was a holy empire, and it was the most powerful kingdom. It reigned above everything else, and it was extremely rare. Apart from these kingdoms, there were also divine kingdoms. However, these divine kingdoms were directly controlled by godly spirits and were not part of the heaven-awakened world system of kingdoms. These kingdoms differentiated the strength of each kingdom. If the Qin kingdom established a kingdom, it would be equivalent to a level 1 barony kingdom. Only with a level 1 barony kingdom would they have some means to protect themselves, and one could imagine how difficult it would be in the future. Besides gold coins, there were also purple gold coins, crystal coins, and high-grade holy coins. One purple gold coin was equal to 100 gold coins. One crystal coin was equal to 100 purple gold coins, and one holy coin was equal to 100 crystal coins. Only high-grade kingdoms had holy coins, and it was impossible to see them in low-grade kingdoms. Gold coins were the most common currency in the heaven-awakened world. There were also higher grades of equipment. Above epic grade equipment, there were 3 grades: Saint Armaments, Earth God Armaments, and Emperor Heaven Armaments. Each grade was split into 12 levels, such as Level 1 Saint Armaments and Level 12 Saint Armaments, which were Level 1 Earth God Armaments. Earth God Armaments were equivalent to godly weapons. Next was Cultivation. Above Stage 9, there were 9 realms: Saint Realm, Earth Realm, Heaven Realm, Harmony Realm, Great Earth Realm, World Realm, Divine Realm, Extreme Heaven Realm, and Emperor Heaven Realm. Just like Stage 9, there were 4 levels: low, medium, high, and extreme. People in each realm had terrifying power that could destroy the heavens and earth, and Saint Realm cultivators could directly kill godly spirits. The gods they were talking about here weren't just slaying clones. They were slaying true gods. Of course, they would only be able to kill some weaker gods. However, the higher one's cultivation base was, the higher the gods they would be able to kill. Right now, Zhao Fu was just a bit away from breaking through to Stage 4, so he did not have to think about the realms after Stage 9. The road ahead was too long, and he would take a heavy blow. However, now that Zhao Fu had heaven grade and a sovereign bloodline, his cultivation speed was still quite fast. That was just the basic information about the heaven-awakened world, and there were many more details. Moreover, the level 6 chaotic world stone steel had not leveled up yet, so it would take some time for him to leave the legacy land. Seeing that there was not much to do, Zhao Fu thought about how he had not returned to the real world for a while, and that he would be famished, so he decided to return to the real world first. Just as his consciousness returned to his mind, he felt a familiar sense of hunger, and Zhao Fu opened his eyes. He had his bodyguard prepare some food, and he found out that countless people wanted to see him. Zhao Fu thought about it and decided not to see them all for now. However, after the bodyguard brought food, Zhao Fu sat on the sofa and had only eaten a few bites when he heard the bodyguard say that Wu Qingyang wanted to see him. Zhao Fu did not want to see her, so he let her in. After not seeing Wu Qingyang for a while, she had become more mature and beautiful. Zhao Fu looked at her and lightly smiled as he asked, "Qingyang, what is it?" Wu Qingyang smiled as she sat next to Zhao Fu and hugged Zhao Fu. She rested her head on Zhao Fu's shoulder and said softly, "Of course it's because I missed you." Zhao Fu felt quite startled and hesitated. However, he did not hug her and only nodded. Wu Qingyang hugged Zhao Fu for a while before letting go of Zhao Fu and hugging Zhao Fu's hand instead. She rested her head on Zhao Fu's shoulder and said, "You've been so busy recently, and it's been so difficult to see you. Do you feel more confident now that you're the leader of the Ying family and Emperor Qin's legatee?" To be honest, Wu Qingyang pinched Zhao Fu's waist. Zhao Fu dryly laughed in pain and could only apologize as he replied, "I've been quite busy recently and have a lot of things to do." Chapter 595. Zhao Fu thought for a moment before replying, "Let's do what we need to do." Even though Qin's recovery will end the shift in fate, the other dynasty legatees and factions will focus their attention on Qin, and they might do things against Qin. However, it's impossible for Qin not to recover. Not only will that be bad for them, but it will also be bad for Qin. As such, Qin will try to recover as soon as possible. Wu Qingyang nodded and raised her head to kiss Zhao Fu on the cheek as she smiled and said, "All right, I'll be going now. I'm leaving now, but the next time I come, do I still need to ask for a favor from you?" Zhao Fu smiled as he replied, "There's no need for that. I'll give some instructions, and you can come in." Wu Qingyang harumphed. "At least you're tactful." Suddenly, Wu Qingyang pushed Zhao Fu onto the sofa and pressed her body against Zhao Fu's as she kissed Zhao Fu's lips. Her tongue domineeringly entered Zhao Fu's mouth, and their tongues intertwined, creating a wondrous feeling. After a while, Wu Qingyang got up, her face red, and she looked at Zhao Fu with her beautiful eyes as she said, "I'll be going now." Zhao Fu lightly nodded, and after Wu Qingyang left, Zhao Fu sighed. Zhao Fu did not know what to do with Wu Qingyang. After eating, Zhao Fu met with the Ying family's leaders. They were mainly concerned about the current situation, and after Zhao Fu gave them a brief explanation, they felt at ease and left. Most of the others were representatives of various factions. Because Qin was incredibly important to the shift in fate, they wanted to see what Qin was thinking. The officials also came, trying to persuade Qin to let go of his grudges and unite. Other forces could also provide some help, hoping that Qin could recover quickly and end the shift of fate. Zhao Fu didn't see any of these people, nor did he need their help. Zhao Fu also conveyed Qin's message, which made them all feel relieved. There was no other way. Although he had helped them, it was impossible for Qin to be dragged down by them. In that case, it would be Qin who would suffer losses, and it would not benefit Qin at all. Moreover, Zhao Fu knew a bigger crisis. They couldn't let Qin die because of them, so they could only do this. Finally, there were some people who wanted to see Zhao Fu. One of them was Su Yuyin, who had most likely come for Flower Moon's people. Zhao Fu thought about it and decided to meet her. Su Yuyin walked in and angrily looked at Zhao Fu as she asked, "Flower Moon isn't opposing Qin, so why is Qin capturing Flower Moon's people again and again?" Zhao Fu sincerely apologized. "I'm very sorry." Su Yuyin had never thought that Zhao Fu would apologize so sincerely, and her anger dissipated by half. Her tone became much weaker as she asked, "When do you plan to release our people?" "That won't do. Their bodies have already entered the heaven-awakened world, and with Qin's protection, they'll be very safe." Zhao Fu directly refused. Su Yuyin had thought that Zhao Fu was going to release her people, but who would have thought that he would still do this? Her anger rose up again as she said, "Flower Moon's people don't need Qin's protection. Please release our people, Qin." Hearing Su Yin's impolite words, Zhao Fu's expression became slightly cold as he said, "So what? Do you think Qin is afraid of Flower Moon? You fought against Qin before, so you're Qin's enemies. You've caused great losses to Qin, so do you think you could just let it go? Also, that Li Wu is still in your hands, right? What do you think you're doing?" Su Yuyin was speechless, and she felt a chill in her heart. Indeed, Qin was not afraid of Flower Moon, and if they continued to oppose Qin, the ones at a disadvantage would be Flower Moon, not Qin. At that moment, Su Yuyin made a decision. She deeply breathed in and said, "I'll take care of Li Wu. Also, as long as you release Flower Moon's people, my body will be yours." Zhao Fu felt quite startled before smiling and saying, "I'm sorry, but I can't promise you that. They're already legatee's women and are living quite well, so you don't have to worry about them. I can help them pass on a message or some notes. They really are legatee Qin's women." Su Yin's heart sank because there was no hope of saving her sisters. She felt quite furious towards legatee Qin, who was so lascivious and licentious. She didn't know that the person in front of her was legatee Qin. If she found out about this in the future, who knew what she would think? Since she couldn't save her sisters, she could only hope that they would live a better life. She could only place her hopes on Zhao Fu. After all, he was legatee Qin's favorite, and with his help, her sisters would be able to live a good life. "Zhao Fu, can you help us take care of Flower Moon's people?" Su Yin's voice was not as sharp as before. It became much softer as she said to Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu lightly nodded and agreed, because Zhao Fu wouldn't harm them anyway. Su Yin felt at ease and smiled as she walked over to Zhao Fu's side and bent down to kiss Zhao Fu's cheek. She then whispered into Zhao Fu's ear, "This is for you." Following this, Su Yuyan left. Now that Zhao Fu was the acting leader of the Ying family, he didn't lack wealth, power, or women. He could have anything he wanted. Su Yuyan's only advantage was herself, and he was quite confident in her. Indeed, if she could get on good terms with Zhao Fu, it would be equivalent to getting on good terms with Legatee Qin. Not only would this be beneficial to Flower Moon, but it would also be beneficial to the captured sisters. Zhao Fu felt quite startled. He had never thought that Su Yuyan would take the initiative to kiss him. Elsewhere, Su Yuyan returned to her faction. After thinking about it for a while, she sighed and gave the order to kill Li Wu. If she wanted to progress with Legatee Qin, he definitely couldn't stay. Li Wu didn't know about any of this. He was currently conquering villages in the Heaven Awakened world, and everything was going quite smoothly. Right now, Li Wu only had one thought in his mind, which was to develop his faction and marry Su Yuyan. Su Yuyan was his only hope, and she was the woman he had set his heart on. Even though Li Wu had a few beautiful women in the village, they were just tools for Li Wu to vent his frustrations on. Li Wu only had Su Yuyan in his heart. At that moment, Li Wu was forcefully woken up and fed a bottle of medicine by a few people. In just a few seconds, he fell to the ground and died, not knowing what had happened even after he died. Su Yuyan had specially prepared a poison that would not cause him any pain and would kill him quickly. This was the only consolation for Li Wu. This was how nobodies were. They couldn't resist at all. Chapter 596. The last people Zhao Fu went to see were Mei Xiaoyan and Zheng Jiao, and he directly asked, "What does the White Lotus Society want?" Mei Xiaoyan sat on Zhao Fu's lap and hugged Zhao Fu's neck as she said coquettishly, "Nothing much, but does Qin really want to quickly recover?" In actuality, dragging the various dynasty legatees down would be beneficial. Qin Kingdom might not develop, but the various dynasty legatees would suffer great losses. Zhao Fu understood what the White Lotus Society was thinking. Everyone would die together, but Zhao Fu did not plan to do that. After all, Qin Kingdom was the leader, so he said resolutely, "Emperor Qin has already made his decision, and no one can change it." Mei Xiaoyan tried to persuade him a bit more, but seeing that she could not change Zhao Fu's mind, she could only leave and report this matter to her superiors. Zhao Fu then looked at Zheng Jiao, who was sitting on the sofa, and asked, "What do you want?" Zheng Jiao's face became slightly red, and she looked around before getting up and sitting on Zhao Fu's lap. She lightly hugged Zhao Fu's waist and leaned her head against Zhao Fu's chest as she said softly, "Thank you for saving my family." Because of Zheng Jiao's identity, Zhao Fu felt quite uncomfortable with her actions, but he still said, "You should be at ease with my cousin. You're safe now, and you're no longer a threat. Moreover, you like him." "I don't want to. I've already said that I'll be your woman. Can I break up with your cousin now?" Zheng Jiao's eyes became slightly moist as she looked at Zhao Fu with a pleading gaze. Seeing this, Zhao Fu did not know what to say. At that moment, Zheng Jiao suddenly stretched out her hand and stroked Zhao Fu's lower body. Sensing the changes there, she said shyly, "You said you didn't have any feelings for me, but you're already reacting." Zhao Fu felt quite speechless. Mei Xiaoyan had teased him before, and now that Zheng Jiao's alluring body was sitting on top of him and feeling the warmth of her body, as a man, his body definitely reacted instinctively. Zhao Fu was not a eunuch. It was better to end the conversation. Zhao Fu also wanted to say something and was about to push Zheng Jiao away. However, Zheng Jiao sensed something, as she raised her head and suddenly kissed Zhao Fu's lips. She shyly stuck her tongue into Zhao Fu's mouth, continuously teasing Zhao Fu's tongue. That intimate feeling caused Zhao Fu to lose control and have a slight reaction. However, Zhao Fu still pushed her away. Zheng Jiao's face became red as she shyly smiled and said, "I'm your woman now, and you can't even escape." Zhao Fu felt quite helpless. Even though he didn't want to, some things had indeed happened. Zheng Jiao happily leaned into Zhao Fu's embrace and stroked Zhao Fu's chest. and Zhao Fu did not push her away. Their relationship was quite messy, and Zhao Fu felt quite a headache. In the end, he had Zheng Jiao leave. Zhao Fu returned to the Heaven Awaken world. By now, the Otherworld Gate had been constructed, and Zhao Fu had built it a few hundred meters underground. He was quite worried that something would forcefully enter the Legacy Land through the Otherworld Gate. As such, Zhao Fu had built it a few hundred meters underground and set up some restrictions. If anything unexpected happened, he could destroy the Otherworld Gate. On the other hand, this would increase their concealment and prevent others from discovering them. After all, the Otherworld Gate was a very important item to Qin. Zhao Fu went to an underground region that was 100 meters wide. There was a platform that was dozens of meters wide, and there was a magic formation on the platform. At the center of the magic formation was a pair of iron doors, or rather, a door frame. The door frame seemed to be made of iron, and it was 2 meters wide and 3 meters tall. There were 2 iron pillars that were as thick as 3 fingers, and there were many flowers and branches at the top. There was a heaven domain stone at the center that gave off a rainbow-colored light and looked quite beautiful. Because there was no door, it was just a door frame. Right now, there was nothing inside the door frame, and it looked like a gray-black screen. There was still one last thing missing, which was the transboundary teleportation channel. However, the Otherworld Gate was finally complete. With the help of the 2 million soldiers and the village finding compass, they quickly cleared 2/3 of the region, and there was still 1/3 of the region left. The chaotic World Stone Steel was only a few hundred war points away from leveling up to level 6. At that moment, the team in charge of clearing brought back an item. It was another altar, just like the demon altar that Zhao Fu had obtained before. It was a godly spirit altar that could be used to summon godly spirits and change professions. Zhao Fu felt quite surprised about this. Qin had already killed a godly spirit once, so he could naturally kill a godly spirit a second time, a third, a fourth, or even a 5th time. Qin did not dare to act against high-level godly spirits, but bullying weaker godly spirits was quite easy. He could refine their clones and obtain their divinity. Divinity was the source of a godly spirit, and losing even a bit of it would greatly decrease their strength. It was an incredibly precious thing, and even in the true Heaven Awakened world, it was incredibly rare, and ordinary people would not be able to obtain it. Even though fusing with divinity could give one the god-killer profession, no matter how powerful it was still a person. Moreover, Zhao Fu already had it, so he could use it in other ways. There were many uses for divinity. Not only could it be fused into one's body, but it could also be fused into equipment and trees. No matter what it was fused into, it would cause massive changes. The altar that Zhao Fu had obtained this time could summon a god called Dokol. Dokol was a beast god that looked like a horse. It was snow white and had 2 pure white eyes that looked like 2 gems. In the Heaven Awakened world, there were many types of godly spirits, such as the demon god, the goddess of life that the elves worshipped, and the water god that Zhao Fu had obtained. There were many types of godly spirits, and it was impossible to know just how many there were. However, because of their systems, they were rejected by the Heaven Awakened world's natural laws, so they could only stay in the outside world. In other words, apart from the boundless Heaven Awakened world, there was another outside world. This outside world was also incredibly big, and it was called the Godly Spirit World. This world was attached to the Heaven Awakened world, and because it was filled with all sorts of godly spirits, it was called the Godly Spirit World. However, other creatures that were rejected by the natural laws would also be banished to the Godly Spirit World. The demon god and the beast god were all from the Godly Spirit World, and because they were restricted by the natural laws, it was quite difficult for them to descend. Of course, it was almost impossible for ordinary people to enter the Godly Spirit World. Chapter 597. 2 days later, a system announcement sounded out in Zhao Fu's mind. The chaotic World Stone Steel had finally leveled up to level 6. Zhao Fu could not help but feel excited, and he immediately went to the chaotic World Stone Steel and bought the transboundary teleportation channel. Looking at the orb of orange light in his hand, Zhao Fu went to the otherworld gate and fused the orb of orange light into the magic formation underground. The magic formation was immediately activated and gave off waves of orange light. The otherworld gate's black-gray barrier became rainbow-colored and gave off dazzling light. It was finally possible to go outside. Zhao Fu suppressed his excitement and started to make some preparations. This was his first time going outside, and he did not know what the situation was like. As such, he had to make preparations to prevent anything from going wrong. As for everything in Qin City, Zhao Fu left it to Bai Qi to manage. Bai Qi could be said to be one of Zhao Fu's most important generals. Following this, Zhao Fu finished his preparations and once again came before the door to the outside world. He deeply breathed in and decided to go by himself this time. Zhao Fu did not want to bring anyone with him, as they would be too big of a target. Moreover, now that Zhao Fu had recovered half of his strength, protecting himself would not be a problem. After stepping into the otherworld gate, Zhao Fu felt a massive power pull at his body, causing him to feel dizzy. This lasted for about a minute. After coming back to his senses, Zhao Fu found that he was on a grassy plain. This was the outside of the Legacy Land. A trace of a smile appeared on Zhao Fu's face, and he found a hidden place to set up a teleportation channel to return. Following this, because Zhao Fu did not know the situation here and did not know the way, he continued to fly forwards. Right now, the only thing that Zhao Fu was sure of was that he was at the boundary of a kingdom. Most kingdoms would set up a kingdom boundary, and there were extremely powerful restrictions there. Teleportation channels could not be used, and even spatial equipment could not be used. For example, intermediate and advanced spatial rings could not be used, and only top-tier spatial rings could be used. However, they had great restrictions, and they could only take out small items. A kingdom's border was at least 50,000 kilometers wide, or even wider. This was mainly to prevent other kingdoms from invading. If there was no border, others could directly use teleportation channels to come to your city gate. Moreover, with spatial equipment, large amounts of goods could be transported. This put the country in a disadvantageous situation, so they needed border guards. The invading side would definitely be in a disadvantageous situation. Not only would they have to rely on foot, but they would also have to transport their own supplies. As for the defending army, although their spatial equipment could not be used, they could use the teleportation formation at will, and they could mobilize a large number of people to guard the border. As he flew, Zhao Fu did not see anyone or any villages. If he did not rely on teleportation arrays to travel 50,000 kilometers, it would take him at least 2 days to fly. Of course, he had to find the right direction. On the first day, Zhao Fu did not gain anything, so he could only pass like this. He rested for a while at night, and then continued on the second day. At that moment, Zhao Fu discovered that there was a group of carriages in front of them that were surrounded by a group of gnolls. Gnolls had the bodies of humans, but the heads of gnolls. They were incredibly ferocious and would plunder everything. The people surrounded had Asian faces, but their skin was slightly green. This group of carriages contained some food, wine, and cloth, and they were most likely a small merchant group. Because spatial equipment and teleportation channels could not be used, they could only rely on the most primitive method of transportation. Now, a battle had already started. This merchant group only had 10 or so people, and only 8 or 9 of them could fight. Their cultivation was around stage 0 to 8 or 0 to 9, while there were 30 or so gnolls. As soon as the battle started, the merchant group fell into a disadvantageous situation. 2 of their members had died and 5 were injured, and they were about to be killed by the gnolls. The person in charge of the merchant group was an elderly man with a white beard. His expression was quite unsightly, and his heart sank. He felt that his group was definitely going to die here. These gnolls were not kind people, and even if they handed over their things, they would still kill them. Suddenly, a few rays of sword light descended from the sky, instantly killing 10 or so gnolls. The other gnolls were given a big fright as they saw a black-cloaked figure descend from the sky. Seeing this person descend from the sky, The gnolls immediately ran in all directions because they felt that they were not a match for this person. After all, this person had killed half of their people with just a single attack. So how could they dare to stay here? Seeing the black-cloaked figure descend from the sky, the white-bearded elder immediately led his group and bowed to Zhao Fu as he said gratefully, "Thank you, sir, for saving our lives." Zhao Fu could not understand what they were saying, so he took out a language stone and recorded their language before using it to learn it. Luckily, Zhao Fu had come prepared, or else learning the language would have been a big problem. This language was called the grassy language, and Zhao Fu had automatically learned it. He could understand what they were saying, but he still needed some practice to speak it. As such, he forced out 2 words, "No need." Even though the merchant group below felt that Zhao Fu's words were quite strange, they did not dare to think too much about it. This was a world ruled by strength, and if they accidentally angered him, they would deserve to be killed. "Where are you going?" Zhao Fu once again spoke the grassy language in a rather unpracticed manner. The white-bearded elder respectfully replied, "Sir, we're going to the Kershi Kingdom to sell some things." A trace of a smile appeared on Zhao Fu's face. He could go with them, so he said, "I want to go as well. I can protect you all." Hearing this, everyone else was delighted. With such a powerful person protecting them, they would not have to worry about danger. As such, they quickly invited Zhao Fu in and prepared a carriage for Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu entered the carriage and did not say much, as he was afraid that his identity would be revealed. Just like that, Zhao Fu followed the merchant group for 3 or 4 days before arriving at a tall and majestic Great Wall. During those 3 or 4 days, Zhao Fu did not say much, and the merchant group did not ask much either. They would also bring him some food. Almost every kingdom had a Great Wall, and Great Walls were necessary for defense. After all, Great Walls were not just simple defenses, but they were also supported by the kingdom's power, making them incredibly sturdy. The Great Wall was 20 or so meters tall, and there were soldiers with powerful auras standing on it. The gate below was 10 meters wide, and there were many people going in and out, creating a bustling scene. Seeing that these soldiers did not seem to want to check his identity and only wanted to collect some entrance fees, Zhao Fu let out a sigh of relief. Chapter 598. From this, it could be seen how powerful the Kershi Kingdom's military was. Most of their soldiers were at Stage 1, and there were many Stage 2 and Stage 3 soldiers as well. However, only a small portion of the Heaven Awakened world's people had reached Stage 1, and Stage 1 soldiers were incredibly rare. If they fought, the human side would definitely lose. After all, if the soldiers defending the Great Wall were so powerful, the kingdom's elite soldiers would be even more powerful. Zhao Fu did not know the exact situation for now, and, after entering the Great Wall, Zhao Fu said goodbye to the merchant group and quickly went to the nearest city. The place with the most information was, of course, a bookstore. Zhao Fu bought 10 or so books and found an inn to stay in, and he looked through the books that he had bought. Half a day passed, and Zhao Fu gained some rough information. The races here were called grassy people, and they were from a world that had been devoured in the previous century. The Kershi Kingdom had been established for 64 years, and it had 300 or so regions and 900 million people. It had 45 million soldiers, and most of them were Stage 1 soldiers. The Kershi Kingdom was only one of the kingdoms in the previous world. In the previous world, there had been more than 40 kingdoms that had survived. They had successfully defended against the invasion from the previous world and the world before that, but they had suffered heavy losses. Many countries and races had either been destroyed or enslaved. The war between the two sides had not yet subsided, and there would more or less be some major battles. The Kershi Kingdom's strength was equivalent to a level 3 barony kingdom, and it was above average out of the 40 or so kingdoms. Some of the relationships between the kingdoms were quite friendly, but there were also some conflicts, making things quite complicated. Apart from these books, Zhao Fu also bought a large map. This map mainly showed the 9 countries, and there was a large gray area that was not marked. This was the Legacy Land. Since there were 9 kingdoms near the Legacy Land, they would have to face invasions from at least 9 kingdoms. Each kingdom had 50 million soldiers, which meant that there would be 450 million soldiers. These were all Stage 1 soldiers, and adding on their training and battle experience, their battle prowess was not something that ordinary people could compare to. There were also many Stage 2 and Stage 3 soldiers, and if they invaded, they would be quite terrifying. After all, the human world only had 8 billion people. The invasion of 450 million soldiers was the most optimistic figure, because the land of inheritance was a very large cake. Other countries might also attack, so they would have to face the invasion of more than 40 countries at most. If a kingdom had 50 million soldiers, they would have to face an invasion of 2 billion people. Moreover, the ratio of soldiers to civilians was not 10:1, but 100:6. In other words, there were 6 soldiers for every 100 people, which was the best ratio in the Heaven Awakened world. It could ensure the prosperity of the country, and its vitality would not be damaged. Moreover, it could provide a large amount of resources to the soldiers, allowing them to continuously improve their cultivation. If they really invaded, they could double their forces, which meant that they would have to face an invasion of 4 billion people. Most of these people had Stage 1 cultivation, and with the current strength of the legacy land, they would be able to flatten the entire legacy land. This was the danger that the land of inheritance was facing now, the so-called catastrophe. Furthermore, most countries had a regional system. Just like the land of legacy, there were many regions here, and these regions were further divided into several cities and towns, which were distributed one level at a time. Now, Zhao Fu had some basic information about his future enemies, and he had accomplished his goal. Now that he had left the boundary and the Great Wall, he could use his spatial ring. This time, Zhao Fu had brought a lot of money and wanted to see if there were any good things. These kingdoms had been in the Heaven Awakened world for decades, and they definitely had more things in the land of inheritance. As such, Zhao Fu wanted to buy a lot of things. Now that Qin had too much money to spend, this was a good place to do so. Zhao Fu casually walked around, and because this was a small city, there were many things that Zhao Fu was not interested in. As such, he decided to go to a bigger city. After teleporting 10 or so times, Zhao Fu arrived at the Kirsch Kingdom's capital city. Zhao Fu did not dare to go there, as there were too many espers and espers there. It was the center of power, so Zhao Fu decided to be cautious and choose the capital city. This capital city was dozens of times bigger than an ordinary system main city, and it could hold at least 10 million people. The city walls were tall and majestic, and it was quite a grand sight. Zhao Fu would be able to buy the best things here. After walking around, Zhao Fu found that there were many things that he could buy, such as equipment, skills, items, and materials. Not only did they have everything that he could think of, but they also had everything that he couldn't think of, and they were all of very high quality. Zhao Fu also saw many shops selling legendary grade and epic grade equipment, but they were quite expensive. A single piece of legendary grade equipment cost hundreds of thousands of gold coins, and a single piece of epic grade equipment cost millions of gold coins. Ordinary people would not be able to afford them. There were also many tamed beasts as pets. Some of these pets were quite cute, some were powerful, and some had special bloodlines. Zhao Fu looked around and found a little beast with the Taodai bloodline, a little turtle with the black tortoise bloodline, and a large python with the feathered serpent bloodline. However, they only had a trace of a bloodline and were not very useful, so it was quite difficult to awaken them. As such, Zhao Fu did not buy them. Apart from pets, there were also slaves. Slaves were quite common in the Heaven Awakened world, and they were all locked up in wooden cages. The men could be used as laborers or raised as slave soldiers. The women could also do light tasks, such as washing clothes and cleaning. However, the beautiful women were mostly slaves, and they only wore thin, almost transparent clothes, making it possible to see any part of their bodies. Of course, they did not have any dignity or power, and as long as they were bought, they would be at their master's disposal, regardless of whether they were dead or alive. This was protected by the law, and it was within their rights. None of these slaves were grassy people, as this was the grassy kingdom. How could there be grassy people as slaves? All of the slaves were from other races, and it was possible that other races would also have grassy people as slaves. Both sides would capture other races as slaves, so slaves were quite common. This was how the strong preyed on the weak was. The strong could do whatever they wanted, and this was the fate of the weak. If humans could not resist, this would be the fate of the weak. Chapter 599. Zhao Fu could only look around and feel helpless towards these numb slaves. This was someone else's kingdom, and Zhao Fu could not do anything about it. However, Zhao Fu had long since decided that Qin would not have slavery in the future. As long as they were willing to submit and be loyal to Qin, Zhao Fu would treat them equally and treat them as Qin's subjects. After looking around a few times, Zhao Fu came to a very large and luxuriously decorated shop. This was the largest shop in the capital city, and it was owned by one of the largest financial groups in the Kirsch Kingdom, the Swan Goose Financial Group. It most likely had everything that Zhao Fu was looking for. After Zhao Fu walked in, a beautiful grassy woman walked up and smiled as she said, "Dear guest, what do you need?" Because Zhao Fu had already looked around a few times, he knew what he wanted. Qin did not lack equipment and skills, but legendary grade and epic grade equipment were simply too expensive. It would be better to buy a large number of strategic items to increase his faction strength. Right now, what Qin lacked the most were talisman stones. After all, Qin had already created talisman equipment, and with how powerful talisman equipment was, it would be one of Qin's trump cards. "Do you have talisman stones here?" After some practice, Zhao Fu could already speak the grassy language. The beautiful grassy woman smiled as she started to introduce the shops to Zhao Fu. Most of the talisman stones here were blue grade, and there were some white grade talisman stones as well. However, they could only be sold in large quantities, which was exactly what Zhao Fu wanted. "I want all of your rune stones. It doesn't matter what grade they are. It doesn't matter if they are white or gold. Take them out," Zhao Fu said with a trace of a smile. The grassy woman's smile froze, and she said, "Dear guest, we sell white talisman stones for 1 gold coin each, and there are 600,000 of them. Blue talisman stones are 10 gold coins each, and there are 50,000 of them. Silver talisman stones are 100 gold coins each, and there are 4,000 of them. Gold talisman stones are 1,000 gold coins each, and there are 50 of them. Just the white rune stone alone would cost 600,000 gold coins." This was not something that she could make a decision on. Adding on the other rune stones, she was even more unable to make a decision. "That's right. I want them all," Zhao Fu confirmed. The grassy woman's smile widened, and she hurriedly invited Zhao Fu into a private room before reporting this matter to the manager. A while later, an even more beautiful grassy woman came in and smiled as she said, "Guest, I'm here to see you. I'm the manager here, and my name is Ruashi. I brought what you wanted." Zhao Fu nodded. With a wave of his hand, a pile of gold coins appeared, just enough to buy all the talisman stones. Rahi hadn't expected the man in front of her to be so straightforward and generous. He didn't even think one. 5 million gold coins was a big deal. After counting the gold coins, Rahi handed the storage ring with the talisman stones to Zhao Fu and put away the gold coins. "Do you still have a tree of life here? If you can't find any living ones, dead ones will do. Also, I need fruits of life," Zhao Fu said. Hearing that Zhao Fu wanted more items, Rahi was delighted and said, "We have 3 living trees of life that cost 5 million gold coins each, 8 dead ones that cost 500,000 gold coins each, and 16 fruits of life that cost 100,000 gold coins each." After all, the tree of life had to be cut down so the original tree of life could be kept. Zhao Fu thought for a moment before saying, "I want 5 dead trees of life and 1 fruit of life." Rahi first left, and when she came back, she spent another 6 million gold coins. Zhao Fu didn't feel any heartache because he could now construct water of life and mass-produce talisman equipment. This was especially so since he could buy high-grade talisman equipment, so Zhao Fu wasn't in a rush. Outside the legacy land, He could find anything he wanted. Of course, the prerequisite was that he had money. Guest, do you have any other requests? Rahi was quite happy, but she maintained her smile and asked gently and politely to Zhao Fu. That's all. Zhao Fu felt quite satisfied and packed his things, and he prepared to leave. At that moment, Rahi took out a violet card with a goose engraved on it and handed it to Zhao Fu as she said, "Esteemed guest, this is the Swan Goose Financial Group's VIP card. Esteemed guest, this is the VIP card of our Swan Goose Financial Group. From now on, you can enjoy a 20% discount on all purchases from our financial group." Zhao Fu glanced at it before taking it and leaving. After Zhao Fu left, the woman who had taken care of Zhao Fu walked into the room and said happily, "Miss, I'm very happy. He must be a major figure." Rahi smiled and nodded. Zhao Fu had spent 4 million gold coins, which was equivalent to 10,000 copper coins. 4 million gold coins was equivalent to 40 billion copper coins, which was equivalent to the entire region's wealth. For him to be able to take out so much gold coins so easily, his identity was definitely not ordinary. Within the Kershi kingdom, there were less than 20 factions that could be so extravagant. Even though Zhao Fu was wearing a black cloak, Rahi could sense a faint noble aura from Zhao Fu, and she guessed that Zhao Fu was a prince of some kingdom. They would never have guessed that Zhao Fu came from the Legacy Land. With the Heaven Domain boundaries protection, no one could enter or leave the Legacy Land. If Zhao Fu had not prepared so many things, he definitely would not have been able to leave. After leaving the shop, Zhao Fu went to other places and bought some talisman stones. They were mostly white and blue-grade talisman stones, and there were very few advanced-grade talisman stones. After buying the talisman stones and the Tree of Life, Zhao Fu thought about it and decided that there was nothing else for him to do. As such, he left the Kershi kingdom and flew for a few days before returning to the teleportation channel that he had set up. It had been around a week since Zhao Fu had left, and by the time Zhao Fu returned, Red Plum Plains had already been cleared out. Only after Zhao Fu entered the Legacy Land did he receive a system announcement. System announcement. Your faction has unified Red Plum Plains, and a massive amount of fate has flowed into Qin City. System announcement. Your faction has unified 2 regions. Please set up the main and secondary regions. System announcement. Only by establishing a great city in that region can it fuse with the region heart. Now that Zhao Fu had returned safely, everyone let out a sigh of relief. Zhao Fu did not tell them what had happened in the outside world, because he wanted to set up the main and secondary regions first. He needed to properly discuss the outside matters. Since they needed a great city to fuse with the region heart, Zhao Fu could only relocate a system main city there. Following this, a 3-colored light gathered in the sky, forming an orb of light that fused into the city heart. Of course, Zhao Fu set up the main region in Xianyang City. After setting up the main region, the 2 regions' powers fused together. The restrictions from before were even more powerful and could cover a greater distance, and the other region's stats also slightly increased. Chapter 600. Now that the 2 regions had fused, Zhao Fu could choose whether or not the Void Zone existed. If Zhao Fu chose not to, it would be more convenient for him to travel between the 2 regions in the future. After clearing out Yuanzhou, Zhao Fu's next target was Dongqing. There are not many trees there, and it was next to Yuanzhou and Xianyang. The 3 regions could be connected, and Zhao Fu left the cleaning to Qin's army. After clearing out Yuanzhou, Qin's strength had once again greatly increased. His population had reached 9.6 million, and his soldiers had increased to 1.8 million. This was because Qin would have to face many battles in the future, and he would be in a difficult situation. As such, he could not use a ratio of 100:6 like the outside world. If things stabilized and Qin successfully survived the crisis, Zhao Fu would not greatly increase his forces. Now, there were 19 great cities for cities, 18 towns, and 1,869 villages. After dealing with these matters, Zhao Fu gathered all of the generals in the meeting hall and told them about the situation outside the land of legacy. Everyone's expressions were serious, and they understood the dangers in the future. This was only the strength of the previous world, and if other worlds joined in, no matter what the legacy land did or how hard it worked, it could still be destroyed. This was not an ordinary crisis. The future was filled with unknowns, and Sheen only had one goal, which was to continuously become stronger. Only by becoming strong enough would he be able to resist all dangers. After some discussion, Sheen started to make preparations for the future. After the meeting, Zhao Fu went to an empty area and ordered people to dig a hole. Zhao Fu wanted to start building a fountain of life. Due to the limited conditions, Zhao Fu could only build a low-grade fountain of life. The soldiers followed Zhao Fu's instructions and dug a hole that was 30 meters wide and 250 meters deep. They then started to build the walls of the well. The walls were made of wood that was at least 10 years old. This was not difficult, as there were many 10-year-old trees. The 5 dead trees of life were also cut into pieces and made into the walls of the well. However, they would only be used every 50 meters. After doing all this, Zhao Fu collected the blood of 100,000 elves according to Zhao Fu's instructions. That was to let 100,000 elves bleed a little. This was also very simple. Qi now had more than 400,000 elves, so it was very easy to do. Next, Zhao Fu used the 100,000 elves' blood to draw runes on the walls of the well. After he finished, Zhao Fu took out a green fruit. This green fruit was as big as a fist, and it was very round and smooth. It gave off a faint green light and a sweet fragrance. It was a fruit of life. Regardless of whether it was the tree of life or the fruit of life, they all had different grades. The older they were, the higher their grades would be, and the higher the quality of the water of life they would produce. However, due to the limited conditions, Zhao Fu could only use these. He dug a shallow hole next to the well and placed the fruit of life into it. Then he covered it with soil, and the entire well started to change, giving off a faint green light. The blood-red runes that had been written on the walls of the well seemed to have come to life and fused into the walls of the well. The walls of the well, which were made of wood, seemed to have a life of their own as they started to wriggle and grow. The pieces of wood completely connected without a single crack, and finally, the walls of the well seemed to be made of a complete tree trunk. The water of life is done. A trace of a smile appeared on Zhao Fu's face as he threw the thousands of corpses that he had collected into the spring of life. The well was almost filled to the brim, and it became a corpse well, looking quite terrifying and horrifying. However, soon, clear spring water started to seep out of the well, and the corpses started to wither as if they had lost all of their water, turning into dried corpses. This was a stark contrast to the clear spring water that was flowing out of the well. One was filled with a terrifying, deathly aura, while the other was filled with vitality. This method seemed quite evil, but Zhao Fu had long since become immune to it. Beside the well, an emerald green sprout shyly drilled out of the soil and grew rapidly. Not long after, it became a small sapling that was 1 meter tall. Zhao Fu looked at the sapling before turning his gaze to the clear spring water. He took out a small bottle and took out some of the spring water, and he looked at its stats. Crude water of life, a crude type of water of life that contains life energy. After drinking it, it can quickly heal injuries and recover one's strength. After looking at its stats, Zhao Fu raised the small bottle and poured some of the water of life into his mouth. Zhao Fu was not thinking about those corpses, or else he would feel as if he was drinking corpse water. The water of life entered Zhao Fu's body and turned into a ball of green energy that spread out, quickly healing his body's injuries. Its effects were quite powerful, and it was not any weaker than a stage 4 healing pill. A smile appeared on Zhao Fu's face. Even in the Kershi Kingdom, very few people had stage 4 healing pills. Ordinary soldiers still used stage 2 healing pills, and the Kershi Kingdom was quite powerful, so they used stage 2 healing pills. It had to be known that the higher the grade of the medicinal pill, the better its effects, and the more expensive the ingredients would be. Before, Qin had only used low-grade healing pills. Even though they were the best healing pills that Qin could obtain with his current strength, they could not even compare to 10% of the water of life. The water of life was now a big advantage for Qin. Zhao Fu did not forget about his plan to nurture a large number of divine tree warriors. He cut off 100 branches from the first tree of life that he had planted. These branches were quite small and did not cause much damage to the lush tree of life. This method's survival rate was quite low, and it was not as good as the fruit of life. However, each fruit of life cost 100,000 gold coins, and if Zhao Fu planted 100 of them, he would have to spend 10 million gold coins. No matter how much money Zhao Fu had, he could not afford to spend it like this. As such, he decided to use the second method, which was to cut off the branches. Now that he had the water of life, he would most likely be able to nurture a batch of trees of life. The trees of life required a lot of space, so Zhao Fu planted a branch every 1,000 meters and watered it with water of life before waiting. It would take a few days for the effects to appear, so he had to water it with water of life every day. As long as he had a large number of trees of life, Qin would be able to nurture an army of divine tree warriors. This made Zhao Fu feel quite excited, as divine tree warriors were B- grade soldiers. The matter of the water of life concluded here, and it was time to kill a god killer. This time, the beast god called Dokol was quite weak, and it would not be difficult for Qin to kill its clone. Zhao Fu had already thought of a way to use its divinity, which was to give it to the Black Forest Horse Denver. Now that the Black Forest Horse Den had used the Horse Jade Soul twice, it had reached stage 0 to 6 or 0 to 7. Chapter 601. Most of the war horses in the Grassy Kingdom were called Azure Qilin horses. These horses were as big as ordinary horses, but they had azure scales and were equivalent to Stage 1 horses. In the Heaven Awakened world, Stage 1 war horses were the lowest grade war horses, as all of the soldiers were at least Stage 1. Only by reaching Stage 1 could one truly enter the Heaven Awakened world. Otherwise, one would not even have the right to enter the Heaven Awakened world. Now, of course, it was time to kill a god. Ordinary godly spirits required sacrifices to descend, and this was the same for the beast god. Because of the experience of killing a demon god, they had prepared everything. This time, the ordinary soldiers did not participate, and it was mainly the 23 city lords who acted. Just like last time, Zhao Fu prepared tens of thousands of livestock and a few people who were unwilling to surrender, and they were tied to wooden pillars. The priest loudly chanted an incantation on the altar, causing a massive formless energy to spread out from the altar. The people and beasts tied to the wooden pillars felt a chill and fear, and they started to struggle and cry out. However, no matter how much they screamed or struggled, it was useless, and their bodies quickly withered as they screamed. The scene was quite terrifying, and those screams could cause anyone's hairs to stand on end. Streams of blood-red aura gathered in the sky, forming a massive pressure. The priest shouted out in a respectful and pious voice, "Great beast god Dokol, your most devout follower, Sikr, offers a sacrifice to all souls and requests your descent." Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as the blood-red chi in the sky continuously roiled and formed a massive vortex. A massive, barbaric, and powerful aura suddenly descended, covering the entire underground region, and the atmosphere became incredibly oppressive. The countless people and beasts tied up howled and died. Whether it was their souls or blood-red chi, they were all absorbed by the vortex. A horse giving off a white divine light appeared at the center of the vortex. It was covered in snow-white fur and looked incredibly elegant as it said arrogantly, "My lowly follower, what have you summoned me for?" Zhao Fu looked at Dokol and did not have much of a reaction. He was quite curious as to whether all godly spirits were so arrogant. No one replied to him. After the priest was successfully summoned, he quickly left. As a priest of Dokol, he was under Dokol's control, and Zhao Fu didn't have anything to change his profession, so he let him leave. The scene was a little awkward, and after Dokol finished speaking, the whole place fell silent. Dokul looked at the 20 people below him and didn't feel like they were his believers. He had a bad feeling, but as a god, how could he be scared off like this? Facing these 20 or so people, Dokul did not put them in his eyes at all. This was the confidence of a god. How could he be afraid of weak humans? Moreover, most of these people were only at the third order. You'd best kneel on the ground and worship me and beg me to spare you, or else I'll make you taste the wrath of a god. Dokul was quite angry and gave off a powerful aura. Zhao Fu lightly laughed and gave the order to attack, and the city lords unleashed their city lord seals. Zhao Fu's king's crown was now gold grade, and it was incredibly sensitive to godly spirit auras and king's auras. Sensing Dokul above him, it became quite excited and continuously trembled. Dokul's expression fell. It had never thought that these people would all be city lords. By now, it was sure that this was a trap, and facing 20 or so city lords, Dokul felt that it was not a match for them. However, it would only lose a clone, so Dokul didn't want to run. It wanted to make this person suffer its wrath. Now, even if it wanted to run, it would not be able to because there were many restrictions in the underground region, including the Golden Dragon's absolute restriction. This was to prevent the demon god from descending again, and it would also weaken Dokul. The battle quickly erupted, and the two sides started to fight. Terrifying shock waves blasted out like wild gales, causing countless people's hearts to tremble. However, the battle was still in Qin's favor. In actuality, Dokul wasn't very strong, and it was even weaker than the demon god from before. It was definitely a low-grade god, and because of the absolute restriction, it was unable to use its true body's power, so it was suppressed by the city lords. Roar! Dokul furiously roared and exploded out with a large amount of white light as it furiously counterattacked. Being suppressed by this group of people made it feel incredibly humiliated, and it wanted to kill everyone present. Clang, 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 countless chains shot out from the air, binding up Dor, who was about to explode out. Zhao Fu had acted, but his power was limited and he could not use his nation armament, so the others also joined in. Everyone pulled on a chain and sent all of their power into it, causing the chains to gain even more power and give off all sorts of lights as they tightly bound Dokul. Following this, everyone pulled Dokul towards the heaven and earth refining formation. Dokul resisted in anger and humiliation. He roared loudly, wanted to kill everyone present. He wanted everyone present to die a horrible death. But in the end, he was still dragged onto the heaven and earth refining formation. Boom! The thousands of crystals on the heaven and earth refining formation turned into dust, and a formless energy grabbed onto Dokul's body. Dokul felt a sense of danger and desperately resisted. The other city lords gritted their teeth and vigorously pulled on the chains, causing them to become taut and not allowing Dokul to break free. Dokul's body was covered by that formless energy, and his flesh started to peel off, causing him to howl in pain. Zhao Fu looked at the 1,000 energy stones and felt that it was not enough. Before, he had refined a dead god, and now that he was refining a living one, it was not enough, so Zhao Fu added another 1,000 energy stones. These crystals once again turned into dust, and another massive wave of energy grabbed onto Dokul. This wave of energy caused Dokul to give a final howl before its body collapsed and turned into countless motes of light that floated down. A white tongue of flame that was as big as a fingernail appeared. This was Dokul's divinity. It was much smaller than the demon's divinity from before, but Zhao Fu was quite satisfied with it. This god-killing process had been successfully concluded, and a smile appeared on Zhao Fu's face as he fused this divinity with the black forest horse Denver. Because Dokul was a horse, it was quite suitable for a horse Denver. After fusing, the black forest horse's name became Black God Horse, and its strength reached stage 1 to 5, making it more powerful than ordinary stage 1 warhorses. After successfully constructing the Fountain of Life and killing a god, Qin was filled with joy, but the others were not. Chapter 602. They madly attacked, putting China at a great disadvantage. The northern, southern, and eastern sides were all under immense pressure, and the western side had completely collapsed because the Indian side had gathered another 30 million players to attack China. The other smaller countries also started to attack, and they no longer chose to defend. This caused China to feel a sense of crisis, and it seemed that it was impossible to defend against the invasion. After all, China had to face 21 countries. Within an elegant room in the ancient clan, a peerlessly beautiful woman knelt on the ground. She was tall and slim, and her skin was snow white. She had a pair of large breasts, and every part of her body was perfect. She gave off the aura of a loving mother. She was Nu Lu, Nuwa's descendant, and she was the #1 beauty on the ancient beauty rankings. "Elder, please agree to my request," Nu Lu said resolutely as she knelt on the ground. An elderly woman sighed and said, "Do you really have to do this? You've been with Big Brother Xin Yuan since you were young, and you've always said that you wanted to marry him. In our eyes, you're already a couple, so do you really want to end everything and marry someone else?" Nu Lu nodded earnestly, having already made her decision. The elderly woman couldn't help but try to persuade her, saying, "You need to understand that he's not a good person. Not only is he cruel, but he's also incredibly violent and lustful. He already has many women, and he'll have even more in the future. Do you know that you're jumping into a pit of fire?" Nu Lu resolutely nodded and said, "Elder, I've already made preparations. Not only will we be able to stop the shift in fate this time, but I'll also be able to guide him in the future. This will save countless people's lives. As the king with the most potential in the world, he won't just be able to influence China's situation in the future, but he'll also be able to influence the world situation. I believe that everything I've done will be worth it." Seeing that she couldn't persuade her, the elderly woman could only agree. The Ying family Zhao Fu was forced to wake up, and he felt quite displeased as he asked, "What's going on?" The bodyguard said a few words, and Zhao Fu nodded and went to the living room. By now, Qiu Fengzi and a woman were already waiting for him. When Zhao Fu saw this woman, he couldn't help but feel quite surprised. As expected from a #1 beauty on the ancient beauty rankings, she was incredibly beautiful, and she was even prettier than Wu Qingyan. "What is it?" Zhao Fu asked. Nu Lu gave a slight smile and did not hide anything as she said, "I'm going to marry your legatee and end this shift in fate. You most likely need Phoenix Qi, right? With the Phoenix Qi in my body, your Qin clan can't refuse me." Zhao Fu frowned. The Phoenix Qi might have been leaked because all the women Qin captured had Phoenix Qi, so it was easy for others to guess. Also, wasn't this woman a little too confident? Did she really think that she could end everything with her Phoenix Qi? First of all, the other Phoenix Qi had to be able to heal all the injuries on his body. Qin's luck had recovered a lot now. Unifying the region and killing the gods had given him a huge amount of luck. Zhao Fu knew how much Phoenix Qi was needed to heal his injuries, so he felt that Nu Lu's words were a bit too confident. As such, Zhao Fu wanted to directly refuse and tell her to go back. Qiu Fengzi could tell what Zhao Fu was thinking, so he immediately walked over to Zhao Fu and said a few words to him. Zhao Fu looked quite shocked. He had never thought that Nu Lu would have so much Phoenix Qi. It was 100 times more than Gao Li's. Many dynasty legatees had wooed her before. As Nuwa's descendant, Nu Lu had the most Phoenix Qi in China. If he could obtain her Phoenix Qi, perhaps Zhao Fu's injuries would be completely healed. However, Zhao Fu still said, "I'm sorry. I refuse." Qiu Fengzi and Nu Lu felt quite surprised, but Zhao Fu understood the current situation. He felt that it was too early to end the shift in fate, as this was a good opportunity to weaken both sides. At the very least, it would be best to end it when both sides had suffered heavy losses. Zhao Fu had said before that he would not purposely slow down the shift in fate, nor would he speed it up. However, Nu Lu had ended the shift in fate too quickly. If the shift in fate ended, the various countries would once again focus on Qin, and they would once again ally together to deal with Qin. Even though Qin was no longer afraid of them, he would still feel quite annoyed. As such, Zhao Fu refused. Nu Lu thought about it and lightly laughed as she said, "Don't worry. The various dynasty legatees are willing to reconcile with Qin and won't do anything to harm Qin for 3 years. However, Qin can't do anything to harm them, and they won't interfere with the northern side of the Midland continent." Right now, Qin was the pillar of China's fate. If he fell, everyone else would be heavily injured or even killed. This made Qin someone who couldn't be harmed, so they decided to compromise. This made Zhao Fu feel quite tempted. After all, Qin's true threat was outside and not them, so he did not have the time to waste on them. Seeing this, Nu Lu smiled and said, "I'm sure you understand that Qin is now China's pillar of support. If you fall, everyone else will be affected. Similarly, if China falls, China's fate will be greatly reduced, and Qin will suffer a fate backlash. In the end, Qin will be the one to suffer the greatest losses." Zhao Fu sighed. He had been worried about this for a long time, and the other factions were also aware of this problem. In the end, Zhao Fu could only helplessly agree, and Nu Lu gave a brilliant smile. Following this, Zhao Fu returned to the Heaven-Awakened world and headed to the border with Vietnam. Nu Lu had already gone there with a top-tier border medallion. After meeting with Nu Lu, Zhao Fu gave her a reality fruit. Now, Zhao Fu was quite worried about this woman, so he had her enter the Heaven-Awakened world and had her in his hands. Nu Lu took the reality fruit and looked at it. She understood that this was something that Qin could use to bring people from the real world into the Heaven-Awakened world. She had long since made her decision, so she did not hesitate to consume it and enter the Heaven-Awakened world. Zhao Fu looked at this woman in surprise. Even now, he could not understand why she would willingly sacrifice herself. Could it really be to save the world? Zhao Fu would not be able to do such a thing, but if it was Qin, Zhao Fu would be willing to give up everything, including his life. Zhao Fu did not know how long Qin's path was, and he knew that he would die one day. However, in the future, someone would take over his position and continue to lead Qin. "Let's go," Zhao Fu said. Now that he had her in his hands, Zhao Fu felt quite at ease. Nu Lu followed behind Zhao Fu, and after personally seeing how powerful and prosperous Qin was, she felt quite shocked. After coming to the meeting hall, Nu Lu looked at the people with extraordinary bearings and understood what was going on. At the same time, she felt quite nervous because she was about to personally see the legendary legatee Qin. After following Zhao Fu into the meeting hall, Nu Lu stopped because she found that there was no one there. Since legatee Qin had not come yet, she wanted to wait. However, she suddenly saw Zhao Fu walk up and sit on a chair, and everyone respectfully bowed and called out, "Your Majesty." Chapter 603. Zhao Fu took the imperial decree from Shenru and looked at Nu Lu as he lightly laughed and asked, "What? Are you surprised?" Nu Lu came back to her senses and couldn't help but laugh as she said, "No one would have thought that you were Prince Qin, and the Ying family would never have thought that Prince Qin, who they were searching for, was in the Ying family this entire time. You've tricked everyone in the world." Zhao Fu smiled as he said, "That was just a temporary measure. Prince Qin's cloak of mystery is what makes people respect him." Hearing this, Nu Lu nodded. She knew a bit about what had happened to Zhao Fu before. Zhao Fu took out the imperial ruler's seal and pressed it against the imperial decree. The imperial decree immediately gave off waves of golden light and became extraordinary, and it was filled with the aura of nobility and power. Wu, Prince Qin has conferred Nu Lu the title of imperial concubine, and Qin's kingdom fate approves of it. Zhao Fu waved his hand, and the imperial decree turned into a golden light that entered Nu Lu's body. Suddenly, golden phoenix qi flooded out, instantly covering the meeting hall. Everyone present was shocked to see Nu Lu's phoenix qi. Screech! A piercing phoenix cry sounded out as the Emperor Phoenix statue, which had been a crystal, once again turned into a golden phoenix that flew in the sky. Nu Lu's phoenix qi also flowed into the sky. Boom! After absorbing countless traces of phoenix chi, the golden phoenix exploded out with a massive aura and gave off a brilliant golden light, dyeing the entire world golden. The golden phoenix's body suddenly became 30 or so meters long, many times larger than before. A small golden phoenix flew into the meeting hall and entered Zhao Fu's body. Countless traces of golden light passed through Zhao Fu's body, and the backlash from Zhao Fu's fate was instantly healed. Boom! An explosion sounded out in all directions, and everyone in the Midland continent heard this massive explosion. They looked up and saw that the weather had changed. System announcement. Qin's fate has recovered, and Prince Qin's injuries have been healed. The shift in fate has ended. Notification. The great shift of fate has ended, and all invader statuses have been canceled. Killing Chinese players will not give you any bonuses, and occupying Chinese territory will not give you any additional fate. Notification. Congratulations to China for successfully defending against the invasion. Everyone who successfully defended against the invasion will receive 100 war points. Notification. Right now, China should be getting rid of the invaders. Killing the invaders will give you 4 times the chaos points. System announcements sounded out in countless people's minds, and the 21 invaders' auras instantly weakened, while the Chinese people's auras became stronger. Many ordinary people from various countries planned to retreat, as they were now considered invaders. If they continued to stay here, they would be attacked by China. In this world where benefits were paramount, the ordinary people of the various countries were originally there for the bountiful rewards. Then, under the push of various aristocratic families and national forces, they began to invade. Now that there were no benefits, who would foolishly continue to invade? In this world, benefits ruled, and there was a limit to patriotism. For example, who would hand over all of their assets? Perhaps there were very few people who would do so, but could the number of people who didn't hand over be proportional to the number of people who didn't? Also, why did people resist when there was tyranny? Wasn't it because their benefits were being harmed? Now, the players' equipment, skills, and cultivation were worth hundreds of thousands of chaos points. And who would throw those hundreds of thousands of chaos points into the fire? Before, China had been so cowardly because they hadn't been prepared and couldn't defeat them, and they didn't want to lose any benefits. Before, when they had attacked Qin, they had been so enthusiastic because the various dynasty legatees and factions had given them massive rewards. Otherwise, who would do something that had no benefits? Some people might say that they weren't afraid of anything and wouldn't retreat in the face of any enemy. If they didn't have anything, of course they would be like that. However, there were things worth hundreds of thousands of chaos points, and if they died, everything would be gone. In fact, those things could even change one's fate, so would one continue to advance? If one could do it, how would one know that others could? No matter who it was, whether it was China or any other country, people prioritize their own benefits. If their benefits weren't being harmed, they wouldn't resist. Now that China had massive rewards, their morale continued to rise. Countless people came to the borders through border medallions, while the invading ordinary people only wanted to retreat. One reason was that there were no more rewards, and the other was that they had already obtained benefits, so they wanted to leave in a hurry. China's counterattack started. Facing Russia in the south of the Midland continent, China gathered 20 million people and defeated Russia in one fell swoop. The proud and elegant Oleg's expression became quite unsightly when he saw his army collapse, and he could only retreat. Facing Mongolia's terrifying cavalry, China set up countless heavy crossbows and armor-piercing arrows, as well as special defensive vehicles. They no longer defended and relied on the rain of arrows and the defensive vehicles that could move at any time to successfully defeat the Mongolian army. The Chinese side also gathered 8 million or so people and launched a powerful counterattack, successfully repelling the Kazakhs. In the east of the Midland continent, the countries that resisted the most were South Korea and Japan. They were the two most arrogant and infuriating countries, and China had long since defeated the other countries. Facing the stubborn resistance of these two countries, China fought to the death in the Lufeng region and the Changyang region, and China defeated them in the end. The number of troops in this war was about the same. China had won, mainly because of the hearts of the people. The ordinary people of the other two countries had long lost the will to fight, but the Chinese people were united. All of them charged forward to kill their enemies. Maybe it was because of the high rewards. Many Japanese and South Korean people were captured by the Chinese side, and they knelt on the ground and continuously cried. China is the strongest. We admit defeat. Please let us go. I'm sorry. It was all our fault. I'll kowtow to you and apologize. Please let us go. Sir, please let us go. I'm begging you to let me off this once. The things I have on me are all of my assets, so please let me off this once. Your Huaxiao is the most outstanding race. Please spare our lowly race. In the face of wealth, many people gave in and wanted to survive and keep their lives and money. China humiliated the other side, just like when they had invaded, and the positions were completely reversed. The north of the Midland continent was quite peaceful because there weren't many people there. Because the other countries were wary of Qin, their invasion wasn't very intense. After a system announcement sounded out, they silently retreated from the conquered regions and returned to their own territories. There weren't many battles between them and China. Chapter 604. Apart from India and the West, most of the invasions had come to an end. The regions that China had lost were all conquered back, and some countries started to invade other countries. However, most people stopped. After all, if they invaded other countries, they would not receive high rewards. After all, the system announcement stated that they had to expel the invaders, which was why they would receive 4 times the rewards. If they invaded other countries to kill people, they would not receive any rewards and would only receive war points. China's crisis had been resolved, and Qin and the various dynasty legatees had temporarily reconciled. China welcomed a short period of peace. Many people were quite happy about this, such as the 100 schools of thought and the ancient clans. Now that they were no longer fighting, China's situation had stabilized. This was a time for development, and if China continued to be embroiled in civil war, it would continue to weaken. In fact, there might even be invasions. They hoped that China would have peace. Within a simple and unadorned room in the ancient clans, a handsome young man with an extraordinary demeanor muttered in disbelief, "This definitely can't be true. Lil Lu wouldn't marry someone else willingly. We made a deal back then." This young man was Xianyuan Xiao, the Xianyuan family's legatee, and he was the big brother Xianyuan that Nu Lu had mentioned. Thinking about how he had grown up with Nu Lu, as well as those sweet and innocent promises, Xianyuan Xiao felt as if his heart was being torn apart. Tears flowed out of his eyes as he continuously shook his head, unable to believe this was true. The elderly woman sighed and said, "Lil Xiao, Nu Lu made her own decision. Back then, I tried to persuade her against it, but now that the transfer of fate has stopped, it means that she has married Qin's legatee and has become someone else's woman. She is most likely in Qin's palace, and it is impossible for the two of you to meet again. She left you a letter telling you to forget about her and start anew." After saying this, the elderly woman handed Xianyuan Xiao a letter before leaving with a worried look on her face. Xianyuan Xiao hurriedly opened the letter and read its contents. Looking at Nu Lu's explanation, he continuously cried and collapsed to the ground as he howled in pain. China's #1 beauty had married into Qin, and many people felt that it was a pity. It could be said that China's current peace had been brought by her alone. Many scholars wrote poems praising Nu Lu's selfless act of saving the world. In just an instant, Nu Lu's popularity reached a terrifying height. It was a pity that they would not be able to see Nu Lu again in the future, because everyone knew whose woman she belonged to. If Zhao Fu was a good person and treated Nu Lu well, they would not feel any pity and would even give their blessings. However, Zhao Fu was not only cruel, but also incredibly perverted. Nu Lu's life would be ruined if she married such a person. However, they could not change this, nor did they have the ability to. With how terrifying Qin was, they could only sigh and mourn for Nu Lu. Back at Qin City, it was already a few days later. After Nu Lu had been conferred the title of concubine, she had thought that Zhao Fu would hold a large banquet and celebrate before formally marrying her. However, she had never thought that after conferring the title of concubine, Zhao Fu would not do anything and only tell others to take good care of her. Nu Lu felt quite disappointed. It seemed that her position in Zhao Fu's heart was just so, and there was nothing special about her. However, Nu Lu did not choose to leave, and she chose to stay in the meeting hall. This was the center of Qin City's power, and all important decisions were made here. Nu Lu's other goal was to change Qin City and be of some use in massacres. After all, she would be able to directly talk to Qin City's legatee here. Zhao Fu did not have her leave, as even if she heard anything, she would not be able to spread it. Now that China had entered a period of peace, Qin City focused on developing and clearing out the remaining 3 regions. Now that Qin City had won 8 million soldiers, their clearing speed was much faster than before. They had already cleared out 1/5 of East Green. As for Mountain Willow Town, Zhao Fu thought about it and decided to relocate it back to Qin City. Lu Subai and the others did not have any objections, as it would be easier for them to integrate into Qin City. As for crushed steel iron, it was very useful for sneak attacks. Zhao Fu established a town near this mine, and it would be very useful in the future. Everything else was the same as before. Zhao Fu had already started mass-producing talisman equipment, and he could make around 700,000 or so of them. These were just ordinary talisman equipment, and he still needed to research and improve the advanced talisman equipment. Zhao Fu had bought 50 gold-grade talisman stones, and he wanted to use gold-grade materials to make advanced talisman equipment. White-grade talisman stones and blue-grade materials could already rival silver-grade weapons. If gold-grade talisman stones and gold-grade materials were used, just how powerful would the advanced talisman equipment be? Hearing Qin City's various decisions, Nu Lu felt incredibly shocked. She had never thought that Qin City's strength would be so terrifying. The meeting concluded. The other generals started to carry out Zhao Fu's orders, while Zhao Fu continued to stay in the hall and read through the books he had bought from the bookstore. Before, Zhao Fu had only read through a few of the books, and he only had a basic understanding of the grassy people. The 10 or so books were all very thick, and Zhao Fu did not finish reading them so quickly. The grassy people had a very long history, and they were divided into many different races. In actuality, most worlds were similar to Earth. They first evolved from low-grade creatures to high-grade creatures, and they unified planets. Their societies and countries were similar to Earth's. Even though they were all called humans, they had different countries, different races, different skins, and different histories. The grassy people were definitely not weak, and they had nation armaments and clan armaments. In the future, they would be the humans' greatest enemies, and Zhao Fu wanted to understand more about them. If they fought with them in the future, it would be very useful. Soon, it was night, and Zhao Fu's eyes felt a bit sore after reading for an entire day. Just as he was about to rub them, a figure walked over and gently rubbed his temples. "Lord Husband, do you feel better?" Nu Lu smiled as she said softly. Zhao Fu felt quite startled before lightly laughing. Now that he had made her a concubine, she could indeed call him Lord Husband. However, Nu Lu gave off a familiar feeling and did not feel unfamiliar at all. Even though they had only known each other for a short period of time, they felt as if they had known each other for a long time. She seemed to be older than Zhao Fu by a year, but she gave off a very mature aura, which was similar to that of a mother's. Nu Lu did not think too much, as she had already made her decision. Since she had become Zhao Fu's woman, she wanted to be a good wife to Zhao Fu. Chapter 605. Hearing Nu Lu's words, Zhao Fu nodded and asked, "Did you never leave?" Nu Lu shook her head and smiled as she said, "Lord Husband, you've been reading for an entire day. It's nighttime now and I just left. I made some dishes, but I don't know if they suit your tastes." Zhao Fu looked to the side and saw that there was already food on the table. Nu Lu was treating him so well, and Zhao Fu felt quite uncomfortable, so he looked up at her. Facing Zhao Fu's gaze, Nu Lu's face became slightly red as she asked, "What is it, Lord Husband?" Zhao Fu could not help but ask, "Why are you treating me so well? There's no need for you to do so, right? I know that I don't have enough charm for you to like me so easily. You entered Qin City to end the shift in fate, right?" Nu Lu lightly laughed as she replied, "So it's because of that. You're my man now, and we're going to live together for the rest of our lives. So, of course, I have to treat you well." Zhao Fu didn't know how to reply to her, and he had never thought about this for his entire life. He suddenly fell silent. "Lord Husband, the food is getting cold," Nu Lu said with a trace of a smile, breaking Zhao Fu's silence. Zhao Fu came back to his senses and nodded. He put down the book and came to the table. He picked up his bowl and chopsticks and tasted the food, and he found that it was quite good. Nu Lu looked at the book that Zhao Fu had placed beside him, and she found that it was written in a special language. It was not an Outlander language, nor was it written in any other language. "Lord Husband, what book is this?" Nu Lu could not help but ask out of curiosity. Zhao Fu did not hide anything and told her what had happened outside. Nu Lu's face instantly became pale. She had never thought that there would be such great danger in the future. "Can't Lord Husband spread this news? That way, all of humanity will be able to make preparations," Nu Lu said worriedly as she sat next to Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu looked at her and replied, "That won't do. If the entire world finds out and the heaven domain boundary closes early, all of humanity, including Qin City, will perish. The Heaven Awakened world nurtures experts, and only experts can survive. In the future, humans won't just have to face the grassy people, but the true Heaven Awakened world." After hearing Zhao Fu's explanation, Nu Lu understood and felt quite glad that she had been able to enter Great Qin, or else she would not have known about these things. She asked Fu and Zhao Fu, Lu Zhao Fu. Lu understood and felt that Qin was to Qin's Fu was. At Nu Lu, Qin, Zhao Fu, Lu Li, and Fu, and in Lu Zhao. Zhao Fu and Fu felt not, and asked, and it was Li Zhao Fu and asked, and he Lu Fu, and said. Nu Lu came back to her senses and smiled as she picked up her bowl and chopsticks. She did not say anything else, and only asked if the food suited Zhao Fu's taste and what he liked to eat. After the two of them ate, Zhao Fu continued to read while Nu Lu stayed by Zhao Fu's side. Sometimes, she would brew some tea and bring it to Zhao Fu while she did some embroidery. The next day, Zhao Fu woke up. Late last night, Zhao Fu had ordered people to bring Nu Lu back to her room. Suddenly having someone who seemed like family made Zhao Fu's closed-off heart feel quite touched, and he felt quite uncomfortable. On that day, Zhao Fu received news that the advanced talisman equipment had been successfully made. Zhao Fu grinned and looked forward to it. Nu Lu did not come. She now understood Zhao Fu's personality and understood that Zhao Fu had not fully accepted her. This would take time, so Nu Lu did not bother Zhao Fu in case Zhao Fu became annoyed. However, her relationship with Zhao Fu had already surpassed the relationship between Zhao Fu and other women, so Nu Lu was quite satisfied. Zhao Fu went to Shi Qianhua's room and received a sword that he handed over. This was a piece of equipment made from gold materials and gold talisman stones. This sword was different from ordinary talisman equipment. It was covered with runes, and the blade was black. It was 1 meter long, and there was a golden rune that gave off a faint golden light at the point where the blade and hilt connected. The entire sword gave off a powerful and mysterious feeling. Xing, Zhao Fu sent in his cultivation power, and the sword devoured Zhao Fu's power before giving off a clear sword hum. The runes on the sword lit up, and a sharp sword wind spread out. Shi Qianhua, who was standing by the side, felt that the sword chi was about to cut open his skin, and he quickly retreated a few steps. This sword's power was quite shocking, and Zhao Fu casually swung out, causing a sword light to flash out and leave a 10 or so meter long gash on the ground. This sword's power could rival a trash epic-grade weapon, but it required a lot of cultivation power, and it required one to have at least stage 3 cultivation to use it. However, this was still quite shocking. Even trash epic-grade equipment was still epic-grade equipment, and the power it contained surpassed legendary-grade equipment. However, this sword only gave Zhao Fu the stats of a gold piece of equipment, and it did not have as much power as an epic-grade weapon. Zhao Fu started to feel quite excited. This was a piece of talisman equipment made from gold materials and gold runes, and its power could rival epic-grade equipment. Zhao Fu had bought 50 gold talisman stones, which meant that he could make 50 pieces of advanced talisman equipment. That was equivalent to 50 pieces of epic-grade equipment. Zhao Fu thought about his soldiers holding a pile of epic-grade equipment on the battlefield and slaughtering everything in their path. How could Zhao Fu not be excited? Could the Kershi Kingdom or any other kingdom achieve this? If he could obtain a large amount of advanced talisman equipment, Qin would have the power to defend against invasions. However, it was a pity that advanced talisman equipment could only be used by stage 3 cultivation. However, if he used silver runes and silver materials to create silver talisman equipment, its power would rival a trash legendary-grade equipment. Zhao Fu thought about it and took out a piece of silver talisman equipment. Indeed, it could rival legendary-grade equipment, but he needed stage 2 cultivation to use it. Zhao Fu had bought 4,000 silver talisman stones. If he could make all of them into talisman equipment, wouldn't that mean that Qin would have 4,000 pieces of legendary-grade equipment? This was simply too exciting. Qin would truly be invincible, at least in the Legacy Land. However, Qin only had blue-grade ores, and Zhao Fu had not found any silver and gold-grade ores yet. He had obtained these ores through other means, so they were limited. It seemed that Qin would have to control silver and gold ores in the future to be able to create large amounts of advanced talisman equipment. It was a pity that these ores were incredibly rare, and Qin did not know when he would be able to find them. As such, he could only wait. Chapter 606. After coming to this place, Zhao Fu found that many of the branches of life in the ground had withered and did not have any signs of life at all. However, some of them seemed to be full of life and had grown roots into the ground, and their leaves were even greener than before. Zhao Fu counted and found that there were around 70 dead branches and 30 living branches, which was quite good. After all, 30 trees of life were worth 3 million gold coins. Moreover, these were all branches that had been cut off. With how lush the tree of life was, cutting off 100 branches every month would not be a problem at all. Qin could already nurture a large number of divine tree warriors, so it was no longer a problem. However, these living branches of life still needed some time to grow, and only when they became large trees would they be able to be used. Now that Qin had the water of life, he could catalyze these small trees. Zhao Fu was quite satisfied with the results here, and Zhao Fu planned to go to the outside world again. His main task was to buy a large number of talisman stones. Not only did he need white talisman stones, but he also needed advanced talisman stones. The 700,000 white talisman stones that he had bought and the 100,000 that he had bought in the Legacy Land only amounted to 800,000. Qin now had 8 million soldiers, and this number was continuously increasing. As such, the supply of talisman stones could not meet the demand. Apart from this, Zhao Fu also wanted to create talisman armor that had powerful attacks. If it also had powerful defenses, it would be able to increase Qin's battle strength by many times, so he lacked talisman stones. There are also stage 1 corpses. After greatly increasing his soldiers, Qin still had 150,000 stage 1 corpses left. After continuously clearing out East Green, Qin's population was continuously increasing, and Qin's military strength would once again increase. Hundreds of thousands of corpses would definitely not be enough, and Qin's main task was to clear out the 4 regions and not attack the other regions. As such, he would not be able to obtain corpses. However, it was possible that the outside world could provide a large number of corpses. After all, Most of the soldiers outside were stage 1, and there were even stage 2 and stage 3 corpses. If he could obtain their corpses, Qin's strength would once again increase. These were Zhao Fu's two main tasks. After preparing for a while, Zhao Fu once again stepped into the Otherworld Gate and arrived outside the Legacy Land. Because he had a map, Zhao Fu did not have to fly around randomly, and he was able to fly directly towards the Kirsch Kingdom. When he had bought the talisman stones, Zhao Fu had said that he would continue to buy more talisman stones. With the Swan Goose Financial Group's strength, they would most likely have a lot of them. When he came to the private room of the store, it was still Ruoshi who received Zhao Fu. Guest, we've already prepared the talisman stones you wanted. Most of the talisman stones in the Kershi Kingdom are here, Ruoshi said with a smile. Zhao Fu nodded and asked, how many? Ruoshi replied, 1. 5 million white talisman stones, 200,000 blue talisman stones, 20,000 silver talisman stones, and 500 gold talisman stones. That's a total of 6 million gold coins. Guest, you have a VIP card, so you can enjoy a 20% discount. Zhao Fu was quite shocked. The Swan Goose Financial Group had bought so many talisman stones, far surpassing what Zhao Fu had expected. However, it was still quite expensive. Even with a 20% discount, it still cost more than 5 million gold coins. Zhao Fu felt quite pained to spend so much money, but this was a resource that Qin desperately needed, so he had to buy it no matter how expensive it was. Zhao Fu also prepared a spatial ring and placed the gold coins within it before handing it to Ruoshi. Ruoshi took the spatial ring and looked at it, a brilliant smile appearing on her face. She then handed the spatial ring containing the talisman stones to Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu took the spatial ring and looked at it, but he did not find anything wrong with it. Guest, this is our Swan Goose Financial Group's VIP card. In the future, you can enjoy a 30% discount on everything you buy from our financial group, Ruoshi said as she handed over a 3-colored card. Zhao Fu had spent 10 million gold coins here, which was an unimaginable amount of wealth. For someone with so much money, it was only right that he be given a VIP card. For Ruoshi to be able to do such a thing, her status in the financial group had greatly increased. Zhao Fu took the card and hesitated before saying, Manager Ruoshi, I need another item. I also need one more item. I wonder if your consortium can get it? Ruoshi felt quite delighted. She had never thought that Zhao Fu would need something else. At the same time, she became even more curious about Zhao Fu's identity. There were no more than 5 factions in the Kirsch Kingdom that could easily take out 10 million gold coins. With so much money, one could imagine just how prestigious Zhao Fu's identity was. Guest, as long as you can pay the price, we'll help you obtain anything you need, Ruoshi said as she smiled. Zhao Fu felt quite at ease because he did not know where he could obtain countless corpses. The Swan Goose Financial Group was one of the largest financial groups in the Kirsch Kingdom, so they should be able to obtain them. As such, he did not hesitate and said, I need a large number of stage 1 and above corpses. Ruoshi felt quite startled. She had never thought that Zhao Fu would want corpses. Ordinary corpses were useless and could only be buried. Many people in the Heaven Awakened world used incantations of rest, which meant that after death, one would not be turned into an undead, allowing one's soul to rest in peace. The Death Race was one of the 8 great races, and their race's special characteristic was that after death, they could be turned into members of the Death Race. In order to prevent this, most people in the Heaven Awakened world would use incantations of rest. Ruoshi hesitated and did not directly agree to Zhao Fu's request. After all, selling corpses was quite taboo. After thinking for a while, Ruoshi asked Zhao Fu seriously, Guest, do you really need a large number? Do you really need a large number? Zhao Fu could tell that there was hope, and he felt quite delighted and nodded. I can't make this decision. I need to report this to the financial group. Guest, can you wait for a moment? Ruoshi said apologetically after hearing Zhao Fu's reply. Zhao Fu understood how difficult this matter was, so he agreed. Following this, Ruoshi turned and left, and a female attendant brought in some refreshments and tea. Zhao Fu sat on a chair and silently waited. About half an hour later, Ruashi came back and smiled as she said, "Guest, the financial group has agreed to help you collect corpses. However, the price is quite high. Stage 1 corpses cost 20 gold coins, Stage 2 corpses cost 100 gold coins, and Stage 3 corpses cost 500 gold coins." Ruashi felt quite nervous because these corpses were not very useful, and selling them for 20 gold coins each was already quite expensive. After all, 20 gold coins were equivalent to 200,000 copper coins, which was enough for a normal family to live on for a few years. Chapter 607. Zhao Fu suppressed his excitement and said calmly, "All right, I'll take all of the corpses." Rahi let out a sigh of relief and felt quite impressed by Zhao Fu's boldness. She wondered how much money Zhao Fu had for him to be so generous. Moreover, Zhao Fu had said that he would take all of the corpses, which meant that this was an ongoing transaction, and the profits would be massive. Thinking to there, Rahi felt quite excited and nodded as she said, "Don't worry, guest. We'll help you obtain a large number of corpses, but that will take some time." Zhao Fu nodded and said that he still needed talisman stones, and if he had any, he would buy them, especially high-grade talisman stones. By now, Rahi felt quite shocked at Zhao Fu's wealth. He had been buying talisman stones and corpses. Just how much money had he spent? This was simply too shocking. Zhao Fu did not care about what Rahi thought, and he turned and left. A few days later, Zhao Fu came back. By now, Rahi had collected 400,000 Stage 1 corpses, 20,000 Stage 2 corpses, and 1,000 or so Stage 3 corpses. Zhao Fu was quite shocked. He had never thought that the Swan Goose Financial Group would be able to collect so many corpses so quickly. This was especially so for the 20,000 Stage 2 corpses and Stage 3 corpses, making Zhao Fu feel quite excited. In actuality, the Swan Goose Financial Group had spent a lot of effort to buy corpses from all over the Kershi Kingdom. They did not dare to touch ordinary soldiers' corpses, as they could not afford to offend the governmental factions. As such, they could only turn their attention to non-governmental factions. As long as there was demand and value, there would be people who would do it. Moreover, there was a new profession, which was corpse thieves. In other words, people who specialized in stealing corpses. Many corpses that had just been buried would be dug up and stolen by them. The governmental factions definitely did not allow this sort of corpse stealing. If there were no one to claim the corpses, it would be fine. However, if someone else dug up the corpses of corpses with an owner, it would cause the commoners to be furious, and the Kershi Kingdom became quite tense. Over the past few days, countless corpses had been dug up, and the governmental factions were investigating. The Swan Goose Financial Group had no choice but to be careful, and they even wanted to give up. However, with the huge benefits that Zhao Fu offered, he still chose to do it secretly. He wasn't as brazen as before, and he even expanded his business to several other countries. Since Zhao Fu had spent over 10 million gold, he didn't have a lot of gold on hand. Hence, he was using his equipment to trade. The equipment he sold wasn't equipment forged by Qin, but equipment that belonged to other players. There were tens of millions of pieces of equipment, and Zhao Fu had been worried that he wouldn't have a place to sell them. The price that Zhao Fu offered to trade equipment here was relatively low. Although it was a loss, Zhao Fu felt that it was worth it as long as he could continue to provide corpses for Qin. After returning to Qin City, Zhao Fu refined the Stage 2 corpses and obtained Stage 2 Blood God pills. He then gave them to the soldiers from Qin City. In just a few days, Qin City gained another 20,000 Stage 2 soldiers. Adding on the soldiers from before, Qin City now had 40,000 Stage 2 soldiers. As for the Stage 3 corpses, because there weren't many of them, the refined Blood God pills were mainly given to the captain-level figures. The other generals' cultivations were all at Stage 3, while Zhao Fu's cultivation was at Stage 4. Moreover, he had used a Stage 4 Blood God pill, so his cultivation was at Stage 4. Rune equipment was also being mass-produced. In addition to rune weapons, they had also developed rune armor. The talisman armor looked a bit sci-fi, and it wasn't made of iron. Instead, it was a type of armor that had a few thin grooves all over the armor, and there were also some talisman runes. There was a circle at the center of the armor, which was the core of the armor and where its defense was the strongest. If one sent their cultivation power into the armor, the grooves and circles would light up, making it look like a sci-fi battle armor. It looked quite cool, and it was incredibly practical, comparable to talisman weapons of the same grade. Now that they had the corpses and the talisman stones, the two things that had been bothering Qin had been resolved. Now, all Qin had to do was develop steadily. Zhao Fu was now quite free, and during this time, Zhao Fu mainly read about the grassy people's history and the situation of the grassy kingdoms. From there, he could obtain some information about the world before the previous one. For example, in the world before the previous one, there was a race called the Lontong people. They had Western faces and deep blue eyes, and they looked quite similar to the foreigners in China. However, the Lontong people's blood was also blue. Zhao Fu could obtain a lot of information from the books, and Zhao Fu was quite interested in them, so he read them every day. "Lord Husband, you should rest. You've been reading for an entire day," Nu Lu said caringly as she walked into the room with a plate of pastries. Zhao Fu nodded. After reading for so long, he felt quite tired, so he put the book to the side and looked at Nu Lu. In actuality, Nu Lu's personality was quite similar to that of an ancient woman, and her embroidery and cooking skills were quite good. Women nowadays could not do such things, nor would they be so considerate. Nu Lu put the pastries on the table and sat on Zhao Fu's lap, gently massaging Zhao Fu's temples. After a few days together, the relationship between the two of them had become more and more intimate. Zhao Fu closed his eyes and leaned against the chair, enjoying her massage. At that moment, Nu Lu said, "Husband, what is the situation like with India in the West?" Now that Nu Lu's body had entered the heaven-awakened world, she did not know much about the outside world, nor did she have any methods to obtain information. As such, she could only ask Zhao Fu. Hearing her question, Zhao Fu replied, "It's still the same. India continues to conquer the 13 regions, and they've constructed powerful defenses and continuously increased their forces. Because of their faith, their battle intent is not low. Because of how many people there are, the Chinese side is unable to take back those regions for a while. The battles between the two sides are quite intense, but there is still no clear victor. I think that Shama is already digesting those regions. Even though the rewards are not in India's favor, India is only defending and buying time for Shama to digest those 13 regions. After digesting those 13 regions, he'll most likely be able to retreat back into India's territory. When that time comes, China will only obtain 13 empty regions. Shama has a nation armament and clan armament, and he has the support of countless players. After digesting those 13 regions, his strength will far surpass that of Qin, and he will become the most powerful country in the world." Zhao Fu was quite clear that Qin would be weaker than the Maurya dynasty. Firstly, Qin did not have as many players supporting him, and he was being attacked by countless people. Moreover, Qin had only digested 5 regions, while Shama could digest 13 regions. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.